Day 1. Hello, my name is Kevin Varga. Many of you reading this may remember that I wrote for this site once before. To those of you that not only read what I had to say but actually sent supporting letters to the governor of Texas asking for clemency on my behalf, allow me to personally thank you. Now, for those of you what have not read my previous submission to this site, I will introduce myself. I am a death row inmate who has been on DR since November 21st, 2000. 2 days before Thanksgiving, I arrived to the Polunsky unit to start a almost 10-year journey that has led me to write this for you. I won't go into depth about the specifics of my crime. I will, however, tell you that I took no active roles in the murders what has brought me to death row. You see, Texas, maybe other states as well, has a law that allows them to convict you of a crime as long as you are present during the commission of that crime. This is how I have ended up upon death row with never taking another person's life. Now, as I previously stated to you, I was sentenced to die by lethal injection on November 20th, 2000. I had lived in county jail awaiting trial for over 2 years. In all that time, I never thought I would be found guilty. I mean, if you are not the killer in the movies, then you are not convicted in court. Well, please allow me to dispel that notion right now. In the real world, they can convict someone even in the face of conflicting evidence. But alas, that is not why I am asking for your time today. No. I won't rant about the injustice of my conviction. My purpose today is to leave something behind. Every human seeks that immortality. We have children to have a legacy. Those that can create art or literature do so not only because of the pleasures that it brings to them, but also so that future generations will remember them in some way. So in that sense, this is my legacy of sorts. For you see, I have just found out today that I have been scheduled an execution date. I wish to chronicle these last days of my life with you. I am not sure if many people will read these words, but they bring me solace by having an outlet for the emotions that are clashing within me at this time. Day 1. Today started as many here on the row, the officers banging the metal tray carriers to bring us our cold meal of eggs, congealed grits, mushy apple pieces, and a half pint of 1% milk, the only thing on the tray that isn't cold. I wake and step to my door to receive my meal to have the officer ask me if I knew that I had a date. Shocked, I told him, no. Although I have been expecting this news for over a month now, I cannot tell you how it was to know the day when you are to be strapped to a table and injected with a poison until your heart stops beating. But I will try to explain how it felt. I felt as if the world had fallen away, and I floated above it, without ties to reality. My stomach clenched, and I looked down at the tray that only a moment before I had actually wanted to eat, and the mere thought of food made my stomach churn and feel greasy. The officer smiles and moved on to the next man waiting for his tray. I could hear the inmate in the next cell complain about the tray being cold. I wanted to scream at him that a cold tray was not the worst thing that could happen here. I, like most people here on the row, become complacent about our future. I have held out the hope that somehow, some way, I would not have to die here for murders that I didn't commit. But today has shown me that error. So I began to think about those people on the outside that live their lives, with never a thought to leaving anything of themselves behind. I asked my friend Thomas Whitaker if I could use his site once more to not only share with you how a man goes through his daily life, knowing that in 87 days I will be legally murdered by the state of Texas. I am still in shock over this. But I hope that my writings will give me some peace. In the days to come, I will submit my daily writings. I cannot promise that they will be wonderful, not full of cheers, as I am sure that there will be many times that I will be low and wish that I were released from the great burden. 87 days in the life of a man sentenced to die. But if I continue to write and you continue to read, am I truly dead? Day 2. Good morning to all of you, though it may not be morning as you read this. For me it is. I have awoken this morning with a renewed sense of optimism. As I lay in my bunk last evening trying to fall asleep, I was awash in thoughts of self-loathing, self-recrimination, and self-pity. I started thinking, what can I do about it? I thought that if my lawyer hadn't filed on something, then the issue must not have had any merit. But there was so much he failed to do over the years. I sank pretty low that I contemplated taking my own life to deprive the state the satisfaction of being able to murder me. Then this little voice inside of me awoke and screamed, "Hey, stupid! If you kill yourself, then they get what they want. So I started wondering, what can I do? It was like the sun coming up in the early hours after the long night of darkness. Is it any wonder that the ancient Mayans worshipped the sun, this life-giving orb? So like the sun coming up, I have an idea that could deny the state their sacrificial lamb. There are a few guys back here who have dedicated their time to becoming writ writers and paralegals. I often scoffed at the practice, thinking that my lawyer had only my best interests in his mind. In my naivete, I thought that my lawyer would do all to save my life. I could not be more wrong. To my utter shock, I have found that he has only filed that which is necessary in order to get his state money. I have decided to try to see what these few writ writers think about my case. Most of them do not like for the man to know what they do, because nobody gets harassed more than a jailhouse lawyer. But I know several good ones, and I will seek their opinion. One has already given me his, but he has counseled me that the odds were very long, so I want to see what the others say. I guess this is called desperation. I have 86 days to live, but that isn't enough. I want to live to see my grandchildren. I will write again tomorrow. Please wish me luck in my search. Day 3. Well, yesterday's optimism has evaporated like dew in the harsh sunlight of the desert morning. I spent my day searching the population around me for someone willing and able to help me. I've found many who are willing to give advice, although it wasn't worth anything in the struggle for saving my life. Those who I have been told have the skills to help me file these things away in locked boxes. They guard these precious scraps of knowledge like a puppy with his favorite chew toy. The effort it would take to coax them into giving me their help would take too long. Despair. So I only have one person who is willing to help me with this, who tells me the odds are not good. He told me not to mention his name. He also told me not to say anything good about him because the last thing I need are any more people calling me an arrogant sociopath. But this is my journal, so I will say what I want. You nerd Jay. I feel like a creature who has his leg caught in a trap, and the only help I can find is telling me that I will have to chew my own foot off to get free. There are no longer any choices in front of me that are promising. 85 days to go. Day 4. We went to commissary today. Now normally this is a good day for those of us on the row. We have so few things that are good in our daily lives. The days that we are allowed commissary are almost a celebratory day in nature. We are able to purchase ice cream. And that is a rare treat back here since we are sometimes kept from making purchases for many weeks at a time. While those around me are talking and laughing, eating their ice cream, I sit and write these words to you. I have found that this is a cleansing activity for me to write my thoughts. My angst today comes from that which should make me happy, commissary. Along with the ice cream came my stamps, and the thought of having to write my loved ones to tell them I have 83 days to live has killed my hunger. The ice cream now sits melting in my sink. I just can't eat it. How do I write my mother? I have to tell her that the day she has been dreading since that cold November night in 2000 when the jury decided that I was no longer able to contribute anything to society has finally come to us. When a man sits on death row, he can tell himself and his loved ones that the courts will grant him relief on his appeals. But they never do. The courts are a lie. You see this realization eventually come into the minds of all of the new guys after a while, although some take longer than others. Yes, ice cream would taste like ashes in my mouth. Do they not understand that my death doesn't solve anything? Nobody is brought back, and they only transfer old grief to a new set of people. I leave now to go write my mother. I leave you in peace. Thank you for reading this. If any of you would be interested in writing me, I would welcome the correspondence as a distraction. I love hearing about normal things that can bring joy. Never underestimate the power of just writing someone here to tell them that they are not forgotten or unworthy. So even if you do not write to me, maybe you can write someone else and show that person that they are still worth the effort. Day 5. They finally moved me over to Death Watch cells today. Well, it has finally come full force that I have an execution date. I am now in a section of people that all have their own scheduled date with the hangman. That's all I will write today. Too depressed by being moved to this section. At least if you die of cancer, you get to hold someone's hand that you love and tell people what they meant to you. All I have here is silence. 82 days to live. Day 6. This cell has a definite presence about it. almost a physical thing that is on the verge of overwhelming me. I feel as if there is someone standing behind me stretching out their hand to touch me. But when I look, of course there is no one there. It very well could be a psychosomatic reaction, but what if it's not? I mean, they say that an animal can smell our sense of fear. So what if we exude a pheromone when our fears consume us? Maybe these cells here on Death Watch are filled with the fears of those who have come before. I am definitely contributing if that is the case. Will the next occupant of this cell be able to feel my presence as they too wait on their imminent death? I think this place is haunted. Thomas tells me to test that hypothesis. I don't know how to do that. He also says that regardless of whether there is a ghost here, such things have no power over me. He keeps telling me that will is everything, but I don't really know that I have the strength to do this. I feel like I am cracking up. Where are you, God? Day 7. Tomorrow I will send these off to the address Thomas gave me. I hope I am at least making some sense here. I don't feel like I can think straight. This is a kind of torture that nobody wants to talk about. We don't torture in America, so the president says. But he's wrong. You don't understand how much any one of us here would give to have the conditions they do in Guantanamo. They live like kings compared to us, and the public knows this, and they do nothing. I don't think many of them are really Christians. They can't be. Rick Perry says he is one, but he can't be. It's all too easy to kill here, and there is no sanctity of life in Texas. When will anyone stand up and say that this lunacy must stop? Never, I think. 80 days to live if my heart can make it that long. Day 8. I had to go speak to the Major today, Major Smith. Everyone who has a date of execution must speak with the man to get the paperwork into order. Where to be buried. To them, it is just another death, one of many. Can they not see that this is a human being that they are going to be murdering? I saw today how they looked at me. Now I have become used to these people are almost 10 years here, and today I saw looks that I have never seen before. It is as though they are already seeing me as a corpse. I was handed this set of papers that neatly organizes the end of my life. Who would I like to allow to see them fill me with poison? I would rather no one witness this, but I know my family will not listen to me. What would I like my last meal to be? People think we are given whatever we want, but it comes from a list of food already served by TDCJ. You can't get a steak or a beer or a cigarette like in the movies. It's the same crap they feed us every day. How truly wonderful these people are at killing their fellow humans with order. No inmate in all of death row could possibly have been this cold-blooded. Not a single one. They actually laugh and party when some of us are killed. How do you live in this state and not care about this? My date is now set for May the 12th, so there are actually 83 days to live, moving the count back a few. I feel as if I have been given a gift. Why did I never appreciate this time before? Day 9. How can I look into my mirror and not see this monumental change that must have occurred in me? But the same image stares at me from those depths. The world I know has shifted off its axis. I do have some good news of sorts. I have heard from this writ writer that he has an additional idea. The guards brought me some forms today, which I was to sign. I asked where they had come from, and he told me this inmate. I started to read through them, and felt my heart soar. The guard likes me, and asked if it was good news, and said the person who sent them had been up all night working on this. I have to get some information from the free world, and that is what these forms are for. Some sort of permission from me. He isn't even asking me for funds to pay for this, though I know it must be costing him. You don't know how good some of the people are back here. You think they are all monsters, because that is what the news tells you. Some of the best people I know live back here. Hope springs up, maybe. 82 days to live. Day 10. As I sit here typing these very words, this special team of officers is on the section tearing things up. This team was put together to search out cell phones and drugs and money hidden in the cells of death row inmates. Yet since its conception, they have found none of these things. They are all bullies who want to tear things apart. And that is all they do all day long. They totally disregard respect as they throw things out. I thought the fact that I have a matter of weeks to live, they would leave me alone. But I have learned that this place is designed not only to house us until the state can legally murder us, but also to destroy us mentally. They succeed with so many people. One guy here on death watch had a nervous breakdown last night, and they had to sedate him with clubs. They left him bleeding on the floor of his cell for 3 hours before a nurse came by to see if he was okay. He was still out cold, but she said he'd be fine. I fear of losing what little sanity is left to me. Day 11. I have no words today. I have failed at everything I have ever done, and I have no words now. Day 12. I was listening to a program on the radio trumpeting the technological advances of the last 100 years or so. I find it amazing that we as a society can reach around the world via the web, yet fall back upon the barbarism of capital punishment to teach the killing is wrong. We do not slap a child to teach them that to hit is wrong, do we? With all of our advancements, there are some that the state feels are irredeemable. What does this say for us as a whole? I am writing this journal for my own peace of mind, but who knows what impact it will have on those who read it. I hope that I can convince even a single supporter of capital punishment to change his point of view. When it is no longer thought necessary to kill those we refuse to redeem, that is when we as a society will become enlightened. Here is to enlightenment in my lifetime. Day 13. I have not heard from my attorney yet to tell me I have a date. You may be thinking that it does not matter at this point. I believe that my lawyer should have informed me of this at his earliest convenience, that he has not speaks loudly to me. I'd asked him in the past to file certain motions that I had been told would get me a stay of execution or even possibly get my sentence reduced to life instead of death by lethal injection. But he refused to file the issues, telling me they had no merit. I understand that he, not me, is a lawyer, and he has worked death row cases for some time now. But does this mean he can just throw out things that have even the smallest possibility of saving my life? I just hope he is still filing my clemency plea. Day 14. I have found an execution list taped to my wall. It's from a year ago. I have been looking at those names on that list. I remember each of these men. I wonder if next year at this time will some other man sit here in this cell and wonder at my fate? I want to still be alive next year at this time, but if I am not, I want to leave behind something that will make others remember me. I have been thinking about these men on this list. Were they scared at the end? Did they ever want God to take this burden from them? Did they stay brave until the end? I want so much to be a man, to show no fear as is the convict way. But I cannot lie and say that I have no fear. My fear is of the unknown. What awaits me beyond. Day 15. My life has not always been bad. I remember the good times that I have had. I remember the first time I held my son in my arms. I say arms, but I could hold his small body in one hand. Now he is 18 and a grown man. I am hoping to see him and my older son as well next week. It is my birthday next week, and I hope they will be here. I love my sons, and if it weren't for them, I could be content to allow the state to murder me. I want as much time with my son as humanly possible. How many days left to live? I have lost count. Day 16. I have been contemplating what my life has meant up to now. I cannot say that I have left this world a better place than before I came into it. How can I believe that anyone will remember me after I am gone? Was I even worthy or their remembrance? This has led me to think about my wife. She has decided to abandon me as so many people have since I received the death sentence. I met Samantha through a pen pal service exclusively for death row inmates. The first letter I got from her made me not only laugh, but think that there was something very special about her. I soon found that I was thinking about nothing else but her. When I say that she filled my every thought, this is not exactly an over-exaggeration. I found myself for the first time in my life thinking about someone else's needs before my own. Sammy J was beautiful, funny, intelligent, and above all, she was kind and caring. She made me so extremely happy for 2 years. When she came from England the first time to visit me, I was excited like nothing I have ever experienced in my life. The first time I looked into her deep brown eyes, I drowned in their depths and could have never found the surface again happily. We had many good times laughing and learning about one another. I fell in love with Samantha Jane Ingram in short order. I soon found that I loved her more than I ever thought possible. I have known many women in my life, and had many women profess their love to me, but I have honestly truly only loved 3 women in my life. The one who stands foremost on that list is Sammy J. While I was on death row, I found myself happier than I can ever remember being before, all because of a woman's love. Then in January of 2009, Samantha's mom dies of a sudden death. I tried to be there for her, but she refused to allow me to comfort her. I then attempted to give her space, and most of all my understanding that she wanted to go through this alone according to her. She came to see me in April of '09, and I thought all was good with she and I. But then after she left for England, I did not get a letter from her for 2 months. When I wrote to her, she got very upset with me. She accused me of many wrongs that I felt were not truly wrong, but she stopped writing to me. She totally removed herself from my life. When she did this, I felt as if the sun had been taken from my world. Can you imagine being forced to live in darkness after having the sun shine directly into your heart? I honestly thought of suicide, by dropping my appeals. For a long time, I was despondent, and felt as if my world had fallen away from under me. Even now, almost a year later, I think of her. It is said that time heals all wounds, but nothing short of Samantha coming back into my life will ever heal the rift that upon my heart. I sit here on death watch, awaiting the legal murder from the state, and even that cannot stop me wanting her. I think of her, and wish only to hear the sound of her telling me again how much she loves me. She claimed that her love was eternal. I always thought that eternity would last longer than 2 years. For myself, I will go to the death chamber loving my Sammy J. My love for her can never die. Even if she refuses to ever contact me, and I must live without hearing her angelic voice again, my love will not die. I love her more than my own life. I have often heard that expression, I love blank more than life itself. But I often scoffed at that, until Samantha came into my life. She brought to me love and a happiness that I truly thought was impossible. Then I found myself alone to face this sentence. Now that I need her the most, I cannot hear her sweet voice. I cannot expect a visit from her to say those last goodbyes that I so badly want. Well, I want to tell you that she is forever in my soul. I will die with her name upon my breath. How many days to live? Day 17. I believe everyone wants to be liked. Well, okay. I know there are those rare sociopaths that prefer to live in the dark and cut on themselves, but these people are the exception to what I'm talking about. We live our lives so that others will like us, and when they do not, we tend to feel slighted, and often find ourselves wanting to hurt those people that refuse to accept or like us. I see this kind of behavior every day here on death row. The reason I am speaking about this today in my journal is because my co-defendant is also on death watch. His date is 1 day after mine, and I have not been around him the entire time I have been on death row since we are both moved every 14 days. I am amazed that he has changed so much in the time that he has been on the row. I understand that everyone changes over time, but it is not always a change for the better. I have been able to talk to him at length, and I have discovered that I truly do not know the man he has become, and I cannot say that I like him very much. I wish that I had met him in this incarnation because I feel that if I have, I would not be day 18. I went out to the visit room yesterday and visited with a lady who has been visiting me for almost 8 years now. She is always a pleasure to visit with. While I was out there, I saw an adorable little girl. She couldn't have been more than 3 years old. Seeing this little girl prompted me to thinking of my own sons, and that when they were about this same age, they'd visit me on the South Dakota penitentiary. I remember them coming each week, their little faces beaming at seeing Daddy. Now I'm waiting for them to visit me on my birthday next week. I have seen them twice in the near decade that I have been here. My last visit with them was this past summer. They are 18 and 20 at this time. My grown sons are still precious to me. When I look at them, I still see those chubby little boys who would run into my arms at the prison in SD. Here in Texas's death row, we are not allowed to have contact visits. Ever. Not even when they are going to murder you are you allowed to even hug your mother or children on your last day. But I digress. When I used to visit with my children those years ago, it was a happy time for me, even though I was incarcerated. Now when they come to visit, it is a more somber affair. My oldest is very angry with me for never being the father he needed me to be. When I looked into his eyes and saw that pain that I had placed there, I was crushed that I could cause pain to someone that I love. and even his pain is a pale thing when compared to that of my mother's. I have seen her hazel eyes cloud with the pain of my sentence and the tears streak down her face. My heart breaks with the knowledge that I am the cause of her pain. If I could take her pain upon myself to save her from it, I would in a heartbeat. It should go without saying that I would, if possible, take the pain off my sons as well. I can do nothing for my older son's anger. I have tried to tell him that he needs to confront this anger before I am killed, because once they kill me, he will not be able to. I too had many anger issues with my own father, which I never was able to resolve, and now he is dead and my anger persists to this day. I hope that if they come to visit for my birthday next week, that he and I will be able to work through it. I love my sons, and hope that before I do, we resolve all these issues between us. Day 20. I have seen the first man on death watch die today. The subdued attitude that one would have thought to be here yesterday is here today in full force. I know what my own thought is, but what are the others thinking? For the first time since coming to death row, I feel like that was me dying today. Maybe because I have a date in a few short days has a lot to do with it. I mean, man, I just cannot write about this today. I am sorry for those of you who are reading this. I guess that there will be times in the days to come where I am unable to summon words to express the immensity of this place. Day 21. I feel a little better today. To say that I have a good day while on death watch may shock some people, but this, I would imagine, just goes back to that indomitable spirit I spoke on a few days ago. I woke this morning feeling refreshed and ready to dace whatever Polunsky unit had to throw at me. I have been thinking about my children and their possible visit tomorrow. To say that I am excited would be so an understatement. With thoughts of my children also comes thoughts of their mother, my first wife. I have spoken on Samantha a few times and thought I would share with you Nicole. As much as I love Samantha and wish she would come back to me, I love Nicole too. When I first met Nicole, she was still a child. No, I am not a child molester. She was 17 and living alone with a 9-month-old son. The first sight of her made my heart quicken. She is one of those women that just screams, sexy. I am not sure exactly what it is about her, but she could walk into a room full of beautiful women and dominate that room. I cannot express properly her beauty. After dating her a month or so, she had me wrapped around her finger. I would do anything she asked of me. In that short time, I also fell in love with her son. I had never been a father before, and that little boy stole my heart. We were happy to find out a few months into our relationship that she would have my son. For a few months, we were the happiest family unit. Then we started to have problems. Nicole is a very jealous person and soon began to accuse me of cheating on her. I didn't find out till later that she had cheated on me, and so her accusations were because she felt guilty of her own infidelities. I began to think, that is, I was to be blamed for something that I may as well reap the benefits of it. Hindsight. Not too good an idea. Suffice it to say that we both became so paranoid that our relationship began to deteriorate until all we did was fight and recall who had hurt who the most. I went back to prison for stealing $25,000 in money orders to go to Vegas and party. Not the smartest thing I have ever done. Then again, how many men can claim to have superior thinking when it comes to women? The whole time I was in prison, all I thought about was coming home and being a family again. Then in May of '98, I got my wish. But soon again Nicole and I were fighting. This time, though, it was over her ongoing relationship with another man that she had been dating while I was in the pen. Well, now, after all this time in prison again, I still love her in my own way. She was my soulmate, and when I see my sons, I see her face in them. I still dream of her as I did when we were married. I guess it is true that love never really dies. Day 22. Today is my birthday, and I expected a visit with my mother and my sons, but they never came. I have not heard from my mom since before I told her that I had been scheduled an execution date. I am not feeling like writing to you right now, but you have taken your time to read my thoughts in this difficult time, and so I guess you are entitled to read the bad with the good, and so I will tell you how I am feeling. I feel abandoned all over again. I have not told you about when my mother gave me away. I was 10 years old, and had been caught vandalizing a local store, namely spray painting something. I cannot remember what at this time. And this was just another example of my behavior. And when the police brought me home to my mom, she told them to keep me, and she could no longer deal with me. I was taken to a family I had never met, and told that I was to live with them now. I of course had other ideas, and promptly left and hitchhiked the 30 miles home, only to be told by my mother that I no longer lived there. I was sent to several different juvenile institutions for this. Now as I sit and write these words to you, I feel like that 10-year-old boy with no family. We are not allowed phone calls here in Texas except for one every 90 days, and I cannot make another call until April, so I can't even call her to ask her why I am sitting here awaiting a visit that never came. I want to curl into a ball and cry, but I know that this will not take away the pain of it, not to mention that I have not cried in so long that I am not even sure that I have the ability to do so any longer. I don't want to make it seem that I am without emotion because I am not. I just cannot cry anymore. I have cried too often in the past that my tears are gone. I cannot even cry for myself when I want to so badly. I will stop here before I am too depressed to write coherently. Thank you for the ability to express these thoughts. Day 23. Well, it is early in the AM, and I am still hoping to get a visit today. This will be the last day of the week to get one. I am not going to dwell upon that, though, as I woke this morning with a bit of hope, and it is too early to allow that hope to die. I still have not heard from my attorney even to tell me that I have a date. Again, though, I refuse to dwell upon the negative today. What I did not tell you yesterday was that I had my meeting with the representative from the Board of Pardons and Paroles. I was led to believe that this person would speak with me, and then based upon this interview make a recommendation to the board. But this is not the case at all. The lady who spoke with me only makes a report with no recommendation for or against my receiving clemency. I will be writing to the board to ask them to grant me clemency in the event that I do not get a stay of execution. I would ask that each of you that feels strongly about it write to the governor to ask for clemency for me. I understand that you do not know me except through these journal entries. I welcome any of you to write to me to get to know the man before you write anything. I only tell you that I have not too many days to live if I am not granted a stay, so time is of the essence. I am sorry, but I do not have much to speak of today. I guess I could tell you of the daily life that faces a man on death watch as opposed to what it is like to be just another death row inmate. I am thinking that some of you may think that they are the same, but you'd be wrong. For the first thing, they have us all live on one section. There are 14 cells per section on any DR section, 6 sections per pod. Now once a man is moved to death watch, he is no longer allowed to even have his prison-issued ID, because he no longer has an identity as far as the officials here see it. He is no longer able to recreate outside of his section. Normally we are allowed to rec on any section, as long as that rec day room is available the given hours we request it. No regular DR inmates are allowed into this section. I feel like a leper from the Old Testament. We are isolated to such a degree that before long we even start to look upon ourselves as being different. You recall my first day over here, I spoke of these men as them, now it is we, and I associate with them and not with those others who have not shared in this. The officers also treat us differently, only they treat us like terminally ill men. I suppose in a way, what we have is terminal. I look at the world so much differently now. When you have mere days to live, things take on a new meaning. I count my life in days, rather than say, oh, I'll get to it something. I do it as soon as I think about it because time is so short. Another weird thing is that I don't seem to sleep as I used to. I have not slept for more than a 4-hour period since getting my date. Time seems so important to me that I don't wish to miss anything, and I believe my subconscious has picked up on it. Things that a few months ago seemed so important to me have lost their appeal. I am focused upon the fight for my life, that nothing else seems to matter any longer. I leave you with this thought. Think about if you were told that you'd be dead in 70 days. How would you like to spend that time? I wish that you decide to love and be content. May your days be filled with happiness. Day 24. I am really falling into a depressive state. It is not solely because of the date, though that certainly is a contributing factor. I never got the visit I was expecting from my mother and sons. I have been long periods without visits with them since coming to death row, as they live in South Dakota, and I am of course in Texas. Now, however that I have this execution date, I am feeling their absence keenly, and I, as I stated previously, am feeling abandoned once more. I can tell you, though, about one person who, despite my stupidity, has never abandoned me. This person had every right to go on about her life and forget about me. I decided to stop writing her because of Samantha. I foolishly wasted my time when in the end Samantha too abandoned me, like most every person who I have placed my trust in. The person I am speaking of is a special person who has my heart, my trust, my loyalty, and most important to me, she has my respect. Her name is Stefania Silva, and she lives in Italy. I want to tell the world that she is the single, most dedicated person in my life, as far as the fight to save my life goes. Where is Samantha? You know, the woman who claimed she would love me for eternity? I still love her, and I will never deny my love for her. I love Stefania as well. My love for her, though, has taken longer to develop. I have known Steffi for longer than I knew Sammy J. I just feel that you have a right to know that even though my family and my so-called wife have left me to my fate, I have one person that has and shall remain as constant as the tides. As I type this journal, I have run the gambit of emotions, and I am sure that before it is all said and done, I will once more. I am sure that most every one of you that read these words may doubt what I am about to say, but please believe me when I tell you. Because I wish to paint as accurate a picture of this place as possible, I am sure that others in my position could and would use the space Thomas has allotted me to speak lies, to ensure that the public at large would support their cause. I feel that those who wish to take an active role in the fight to save my life will do so, and lied will serve me not. That being said, the people here on death row are generally happy, and at any given time you can hear laughter ring out of the cells that surround us. Most, when they picture prison, they picture the dark and dank dungeons of yore. But this does not hold true in the modern world of jails. No, gone are the torture chambers and the black cell that would drive the inhabitant to mental instability, to be replaced by cells that by comparison are quite nice. I mean, even though Texas doesn't allow televisions to death row inmates, we have radios and we are allowed to play games. There is laughter here, yes, even here where we must face the death of men we have come to love as brothers, we can laugh. I tell you all this only to illustrate that my depressive state is not normal for me. Anyone who spends even a fraction of time with me will come to realize that I enjoy laughter to anger, sorrow, or apathy. But I am finding it harder as each day passes to summon those smiles. How many days to live? Day 25. I am not sure exactly how the human mind works, but I have been hearing, as I believe we all have at one point or another, about the psychic capacity or potential, I guess would be a better term. However we look at these things, at times we have all experienced this. You will be thinking of someone and they will call you. So I was writing about my miseries in yesterday's journal, and I went to sleep, thinking that I had few people that truly cared whether or not I lived or died. Well, I was awoken by the officer passing out the mail. I got in the mail an email, JPay, letter from Thomas's friend Tracy. She sent along the comments that some of you have made about this journal. I was moved to tears, and as any of you that been following my words, know that I am not a person that cries easily. I am not a religious person. I prefer to think of myself as a spiritualist. I believe in the Trinity, and that I will go on to heaven if God forgives the sins I commit. But when I read that you people out there are not only listening to me but are actually willing to help me stay alive, I prayed a prayer of thanksgiving to God. I thank all of you that are willing to write letters to help save me. What can I say that will show my appreciation? I guess I could reply on simplicity and say, thank you for caring, for loving another human whom you've never met, who has never claimed to be an angel. I have been many things but never that. Thank you, I believe, mostly for the trust and belief you have in my ability to contribute to society. You will, I hope, never find out what it feels like to be called utterly worthless, knowing full well that you can be a productive member of society. The fact that a small group of people almost a decade ago said exactly this to me has had an impact upon the way I look at myself. I mean, sure, I have tried to deny their assessment of me, but always there would be a small, almost insignificant voice that would whisper, maybe. To have my self-worth affirmed by you is as great a gift for me as freedom. Well, okay, maybe not that much, but seriously, it is a great thing to know that someone can see me as having potential again. I close today with each of you on my mind and renewed hope in my fellow man. I mean, if you guys are having faith in me, should I not too have some faith that there is a humane spirit with the state of Texas powers that be, and I will be given a change to live? I will trade the prospect of death for even a life within the confines of prison. Who knows what a man, even one who must spend his days in a cage, is capable of? I could grow wings and fly chained to the earth as I too could soar through the ether. You people have given me new hope. Day 26. I am still working to fix the transwarp drive to enable me to return to Ramosha, but in the meantime I have decided to study the local life forms I have come into contact with. I have built a crude blind that seems to have effectively foiled these primitive people that call themselves Texans. I have a rude understanding of their language. By Ramosian standards, these people live no better than animals, and as such are cruel and kind by turns. I feel they live more by instinct than any true form of higher understanding of what it is to be an intelligent and productive member of the universe at large. But as with so many primitive peoples we have come into contact with, there should always be hope that they'll learn to become what we consider sophisticated. I have found, however, that they still practice capital punishment. I cannot fathom placing the stigma of death upon any crime. How can we, as an intelligent race, allow this to continue? I know that we are not to interfere, but I think that only applies to the military, and since all of the military personnel were killed by the burst of radiation that damaged the transwarp drive, I feel comfortable enough to attempt to change this vile and ultimately self-defeating act of capital punishment. Sorry, people, I just felt like a bit of fantasy today to mix it up. I feel that the heavy and depressing topic of my impending death in a few short weeks is a bit much for me today. I will return tomorrow, though. I again wish to thank all the people who are reading this and lending me their support. I cannot begin to express the way I feel from learning that I can make a difference. I hope that I am alive to see the change, but I feel that the struggle must go on. I know that there are those who will continue the fight. These are the staunch proponents against the death penalty. Those are not the people to whom I direct my comment, but to those of you who are really undecided. Think about my little foray into fantasy. What will people that consider themselves to be of higher intelligence think of us humans when they discover that we practice capital punishment upon another intelligent individual? I ask this because unbeknownst to most of you out there, Texas has a law, or maybe it is a federal law that states a mentally retarded person is exempt from being executed. Should we not attempt to also save those with even a modicum of intelligence? Who knows what these men, myself included, are capable of if given half the chance? Think about it. Day 27. I received a letter from my mother, brother, and sons last night. The one from my mother spoke of wishes for a visit, but lacking the funds to do so at this time. I think that she wants to wait and see what happens before spending the money to come, only to be forced to spend more money than she can afford to come back down in May. She hates coming here. When she lived here in Texas, she would come as often as she could make herself. I wish she's have come every week, but can understand that seeing me in that box just reaffirms what I am here to die. I have caused her such pain by my actions that have sent me to prison and away from her and my family. The letters from my sons were as different as they are from one another. My oldest spoke of the May visit, but not much else. He has so many anger issues at my leaving him without a father, which I can understand as I too was in that unenviable position of growing up without a father. We tell ourselves that we are not going to repeat the sins of our fathers. Well, sometimes that is much easier said than done. The letter from my younger son was most inspiring to me. He told me a lie that was one of the most well-intended lies I have ever been told. He told me that he had no regret at having to grow up without me there. I could love him for those words alone. My brother's letter was the hardest to read. After our brother Richard was shot and killed, my brother Sean became my best friend. Prior to Rich's death, Sean and I could not be in the same room for more than a few moments without fighting either verbally or physically. Then, when we became the closest of friends, I found that we are so much alike that it is scary at times. All three of us could have passed for triplets, so now in my late teens, many people mistook us for twins. While I was serving my time for the robbery I wrote about a few days ago, Sean began an affair with Nicole, my wife. The entire family hid this fact from me for quite some time. Now, on the eve of my murder, he wishes for my forgiveness. I find myself wanting to not forgive him, but in a very nasty letter written only moments before starting this journal entry. I gave him that forgiveness, but I also gave him the full brunt of my anger. All my life I have bottled up my anger, and it has led to some unfortunate incidents where I would scream at the smallest provocation, many times directing an over amount of anger at someone who frankly did not deserve such. This time, though, I decided to speak my mind and tell him that while he had the forgiveness for his betrayal, he does not have my understanding. He has my anger. I want none of his false support. I have been on death row for almost a decade, and he came to Texas once, only he did not come exclusively to see me. His girlfriend at that time had taken a stripper's job in Galveston, and well, 2 birds with 1 stone. I find it morbidly humorous to see all the people that wish me luck with my death when I struggled for some time without their help. The entire time I have been here, now that I have a date, they are here for me. I could have used this support when I got here. My mother was here until the coming here became too much for her to bear. Then she went back to South Dakota to be close to her grandchildren, who in my opinion needed her more than I did at the time. I am of 2 minds now that I sit here writing this. Should I make amends with Sean and die, if it comes to that, knowing that he and I are good? Or should I leave it like this? I went as far as to say that need not bother coming down here if it appears I will be murdered. I do not wish to look upon his or Nicole's faces ever again. I have resigned myself to the fact that I cannot count upon certain people. I will write again tomorrow. May you all know peace with one another. Know that I am thankful for the letters I have received from some of you that have been following this. I also with you to know that I am trying to answer all of them, but I have only so much time, and am being run ragged here lately. So if you have written, and not by this time gotten a response, it is not because I am indifferent, but have a lack of time. I continue to be grateful for any and all supporting words, and for those of you who have written for clemency on my behalf. I ask this of you, though. If each of you could ask 1 or 2 friends to also write something for me. I believe in my soul that you people have the power to change things. Even if you fail to change the governor's mind and I am murdered, please do not give up hope. Find another person here on the row who can be saved. Day 28. Tomorrow yet another man is to die. His name is Joshua Moe Maxwell. I want everyone to know these men I am being forced to become close to, only to watch them fall, one by one, to the unrelenting and unremorseful state of Texas. It is stated that when a man is in trial, that defendant so-and-so never showed an ounce of remorse as he sat and listened to the accounts of the brutal crime for which he has been accused. I ask then, should not the state also show remorse for the killing of a man, no matter the crime he has been convicted of? Is the state of Texas exempt from remorse? I will not require an answer to that, as we all know the truth behind it. I, however, will speak now about Moe. He has 24 hours to live, as I am writing this at 6:07 p.m. He seems upbeat for the most part. He is my neighbor, and has chosen to spend a few hours right now writing to his children. He, like so many parents, has an unconditional love for and of his children. I have been privy to accounts of his last visit since Monday. He has a daughter who I call Jamie Lynn, because she has an uncanny resemblance to Britney Spears' little sister, whom Moe seems to dote upon. His son seems to me to be a trooper and someone who is mature beyond his years. Then again, this place ages everyone that is exposed to it. Moe is a more reserved person than Sleepy was, and so chooses to spend this last day in reflection and not reliving the good and or bad times as did Sleepy. Each of us faces this in his own way, none it better nor worse. I cannot imagine what it is to know that when the sun sets tomorrow I will no longer breathe. I can only hope that when my time comes, whether it be in 60-odd days or 60 years, I will go one to the next live, or oblivion with even a modicum of the grace that I see from Moe. I never really knew Moe until I came to Death Watch. I of course knew who he was and had a respect for him, not only because like myself he is from the north and has found himself on Texas's death row, but also because he always seemed to be an upstanding convict, which is not always the case. It is quite disconcerting how fast someone here on Death Watch can become close to another. I think it is the shared tragedy of this place, or maybe that we are able to speak to others who are about to die and who understand what we are going through. We are unable to speak about certain things even with our closest friends and loved ones because we try to be strong for their benefit. I hope that Mo finds the peace he has been denied while on the row. I will remember him if he is taken from us tomorrow. I wish his family well. Please pray not only for him, but the family he leaves behind. He himself is not a religious man, but that doesn't mean he won't appreciate those prayers from those of you who are of the praying mindset. I will be praying myself tomorrow when the clock strikes the hour of 6, 64 days to live. Day 29. Today's entry will be a poem I write recently. I had just found out that the Supreme Court had denied my case, and I would expected to receive a date any day. It was 2 weeks later that I was scheduled to die on May 12th. I hope the images I conjure with my words will not offend anyone. I merely wish to convey to you the feelings that came over me as I sat and contemplated what was to come next for me. I have always dabbled in poetry. I'm not sure if I am any good at it, but then I would never have thought that so many people would read what I had to say here in this forum. I have been proven wrong on that account. Then again, it may turn some people away. I hope that it does not, though. The poem is untitled. As I sit in the death box and watch the sands of time fall, how can I perceive of anything remotely resembling life? With ghoulish glee, those who warden my existence strap others down to sink their venomous fangs in those prone forms. Hearts flutter with fear and anxiety as each binding draws tight, once a proud individual now reduced to quivering fear. What comes next? Oblivion or eternal damnation? Either way, I must face the ferryman, pay his toll, and step to the bow as I watch reality fade as the stench of the river Styx fills my head. Breathe deeply of death as it is now all, reduced to nothing. My once life is but a passing memory. Before me stand those gates. Gold? Now that I can see them clearly, I realize they are not tarnished gold, but built of misery, pain, and degradation. To pass beyond their threshold will test my sanity, death's embrace, cold and bitter, yet to feel fear is better than emptiness. I hope that you can see that my feelings sometimes run into the dark places where we seldom wish to go, but if you are honest with yourself, you too will admit that you have visited those places within yourself. This does not mean that you are yourself dark, only that you are able to see that in those dark recesses of your mind you can sometimes find a little bit of light to guide you through, and you can then appreciate that light a little better for having experienced that darkness. I truly hope that you can understand me better for having seen into one of my dark places. I again thank those of you who sent letters. I have received more this evening. I enjoy reading them, and as I have stated, will try to answer them. I only ask your patience as I am writing more here in these last days than in all my years on the row. I can say honestly that it has helped focus my mind to fight to live. Thank you all. Day 30. I once saw the stockyards of a local slaughterhouse where the cattle are offloaded into pens to await their turn on the kill floor. A herder comes out to force them into the chute that leads onto the kill floor where a faceless man shoots them in the head, and then he awaits the next bovine with a passionless patience. Why should he have compassion for them when they are not worth his worry? After all, why waste your emotion upon an unthinking entity when another will be waiting to face their death as well? When a man first comes to death row, he is placed into the general population of other death row inmates, and soon it is easy to forget that you have been sentenced to die here. Then every once in a while your lawyer sends you the denial from the courts, and for a brief time you think of your sentence, only to lose yourself in the distractions that have become your life in this place. Before you realize is that life is turned into the date of your death. That was the day I became cattle. I was moved from the holding pens into the chute that leads to the kill floor. But unlike those mindless cattle, I intend to fight the faceless man who will push that button that will stop my heart. My fight is here with these words. I do not wish to be led to my death on the kill floor, with a passionless death at the end. I thought that being moved to death watch was the hard part, but it is not. I must watch each man leave and not come back. Once a man is on death watch, they have 14 cells on the section, as any of the sections on this building where death row inmates are housed, but they have 2 cells that are equipped with cameras where each man is moved, When his date moves forward, just like our cattle, we are funneled into the chutes that leave us in a position to die. My cell is right next to one of these two cells. Joshua Mo Maxwell was in that cell, but before his corpse was in the ground, they moved another man into this cell. I feel like a man being tortured by having to sit and watch each of these men be led to their deaths. As much as I dreaded coming to Death Watch, I dread that cell even more. Day 31. I am feeling so depressed today and really do not feel like writing today, but as several people have told me, I am writing about not feeling like writing. I now realize that a lot of people are reading my journal, and I feel obligated to express even my feelings of not feeling the urge to write. I can tell you, though, where the depression has come from. My stepsister Jody wrote to me and explained why she discontinued our relationship several years ago. She began to question what my co-defendants and I were doing in San Antonio, the city that is close to where my father lived at the time of the murders. She expressed her worry that I, or more likely my co-defendant Billy Galloway, would confront my father, and that her mother, my father's wife, would be killed, and that if her daughter were there that she would be harmed, even killed. I felt as if I had been punched in the stomach when I read her words. I realized that she does not know me, and so has no idea what I am capable of. If she had just come to me with her worries years ago, she would have known that I am not capable of harming a child. She and I have missed out on years of a relationship that we could have built had she only come to me with this. I am deeply hurt by her accusations. I use this word because that is what it felt like to me. She is my family, even if by marriage. But I am not the kind of man who harms his own family, at least not physically. I am aware that my actions have caused many hurt feelings by my family. But just because I am on death row, my own family has thought I could harm her daughter. Is she any different than those that have sent me here? I told her not to bother writing me anymore. I wish that Jody and I could have built that relationship, but I do not want her to feel obligated to have one now that I am at death's door. She can try my brother Sean. Maybe they can find a bond. I just hope she doesn't accuse him of a possible crime that she has no idea if he is capable of committing. I will write more tomorrow. Day 32. I have once more received emails from Tracy, and while many gave support, there were comments that were less than inspiring. Rather than refute their views, I will allow them their opinion of me, and that which I am doing here. I again thank you that have shown me love and support for this struggle. Today has been uneventful with one exception. We have had another addition to our little community. The man's name is David Powell. Texas's hunger for death cannot be sated. As I write again, I have realized that my so-called attorney has not contacted me to tell me anything. I find myself wondering how this man can look at himself in his mirror. I mean, I understand that he has a caseload of appeals, but should he be able to continue to represent so many? In a word, he cannot. But I do not wish to fill pages with that because it truly is counterproductive to my state of mental health. What I would like to talk about today is the tour that came through here today. I found myself in the day room at the time that they came in. I saw that these people saw me as nothing but a rabid animal that might lash out and kill one of them given half a chance. This saddened me more than I can tell you. I try to allow those of society to have their own opinions, and not to allow those opinions to reflect upon me. But I coupled those looks with the emails I received this evening, and I was reminded of the fact that more people view me as such. I am judged by them simply for being here. Never mind the facts of my case. Never mind that so long a time has passed since the crime was committed. I saw them look upon me as they would some exotic and most dangerous animal on display. So much for the humane side of humanity, as I believe it to be in moderation here at the Polunsky unit. I cannot say that every individual I come across here feels this way. Today, an officer told me that they have been keeping up with these writings. I cannot say who the officer is, but that individual knows to whom I refer, and I thank that person for even a silent support. It has shown me that even those who warden this place, not all are a part of the draconian rule that governs this place. This one officer's support counters these people whose adverse opinions have been voiced where I am able to read them. I will be back with something more tomorrow. Day 33. I have seen the worst possible face of humanity since coming to death row, and also the best. How can this be, you ask? Well, let me relay a story that, while not my own, is true. A man who has since been executed told this story that he entitled, "What's in the Bag?" When he first arrived on the row, he came to the old unit where death row was being housed. Well, he came up to his new home what could only be described as drab. And believe me that by comparison, the cell which I must exist is plus indeed. Well, there he found himself in this empty cell, with the noises of the cell hall echoing around him. He was scared and nervous. After all, these are the worst criminals that Texas's system has. Then a man approached his cell front and asked the man his name. Not knowing what to say, the man mumbled his name, and then to his utter shock and amazement, the other man leaned out to address the rest of the cell hall. "Hey, we got a newbie here with nothing. Anybody want to help him out?" Then the man disappeared as several men screamed out. The man was again alone with his thoughts. A short time later, a brown paper bag was slid through the bars to the man. He had no idea who had slid the thing into his cell. For a long time he stared at the bag, wondering what was the purpose of this bag. Then, as his curiosity got the better of him, he slid the bag closer with his foot to peel open the folded down top. Inside were shampoo, soap, and some food items. The man never found out who had given him such gifts, but on other occasions he was asked to give in return as other men would come to the row. I have kept this story inside my head for years, since reading it soon after the man had it published in some forum that I cannot remember. I have pulled this story out of memory, when there have been times I needed to be reminded that not every man here with me is the monster that society would have you believe us to be. I would be the first to admit that there are men here that fit that description, but those who do not far outnumber those who do. If a man is willing to change and repent, should we not be given that chance? I have less than 60 days to live, and I would hope that some of you out there that have adverse opinion about me and men like myself would look into your hearts and see that if it were one of the people that you loved in my place, would you not want them to find help? I close on that thought for now. Day 34. I had a dream last night that I was in a giant building, the building so tall that its top floor is reaching into the clouds. I stood on the roof looking down onto a street so far below me that it seemed to be a slow-moving stream, the wind buffeting me and threatening to push me over the edge. I knew that I was still imprisoned on death row, but also knowing in the way of dreams that if I could find my way to street level, I could gain my freedom. So I made my way through this elaborate building within my dream. Although the focus of the dream changed at every turn I made within the labyrinthian building, I knew that I must find that street exit. I found myself running through boiler room-esque rooms, the steam rising as if I were in the bowels of hell and still could not find my way out. I ran through office spaces that I knew belonged to different factions of the prison, secretarial pools where I stopped to discuss various topics that I knew were only a moment's distraction from the great escape that I was attempting. But no matter how many floors I traversed, how many hallways that I walked, I never could find the doorway out. At one point, I found myself staring at the much sought-after exit, only to be distracted from my goal by the allure of feminine contact. When I finally realized that I had finally found that elusive exit, I have gotten myself turned around and could not again find the exit to give me egress from this place I have found myself. I am no psychoanalyst, but I am sure the portent of the dream means that no matter what I try, I will not be getting out of here. What truly bothers me of that I have no clue as to my fate here on Death Watch. Does the dream portend that I will search for the door only to be thwarted? Does it mean that I must remain in prison for the rest of my life? I wish I knew what the dream meant. No one could look forward to spending their life behind walls and steel bars. But when it is all you've really known, then it is not that bad. I mean, I wish to write a novel, and if I am granted a life sentence, I will fulfill this dream. If I am to be executed, then I will leave behind the legacy of these journal entries. Either way, I have written something that many people have found an interest in. I know that what I am about to say will sound so cliché, but that doesn't, or at least shouldn't, take away from the statement. Look within yourself and realize your dreams, and then figure out the way those dreams can be made reality. Why wait until you've been handed a death sentence to figure out the things you could have done? I know that some people will argue that they don't have enough time to do some of the things that they would like to do. When you are looking into the abyss, you realize that time is a relative thing. I close for now. But here is to those of you who are brave enough to embrace your dreams and make them become a reality. Day 35. I find myself attempting to stave off depression every day. Each day that I spend on death watch is becoming more of a challenge than the one before. When I first learned of my execution date, I found that I would sleep about 3 to 4 hours a night as I feared missing something. As time has gone by, I have been sleeping in excess of 12 hours a night and finding it harder and harder to find the desire to get out of bed. Each day is a struggle that finds me apathetic as to whether or not I get up. I believe that it is due to the fact that I have heard nothing on whether or not I will receive a stay of execution. I have written to people that are supposed to help people in my position to file those writs that your attorney will not file on your behalf, which may sound fantastical to some of you. You may think that the lawyers we have are those that you have seen in the movies or read about in books. Think John Grisham's character in the book The Chamber, and you will know what I mean. The truth of the matter is that our attorneys are, for the most part, men paid by the state to represent us. These men are given $25,000 to prepare out appeal. This may sound like a lot of money to most people, but if you take into consideration the amount of money it takes to hire an investigator to travel to places and interview potential witnesses and similar expenses, then you will realize that the money is barely enough for a proper defensive appeal. Our bastions of legal defense are men and women who will do the bare minimum in presenting each client, of which many have several that they represent. I am scared now of what may come as a result of him delaying to the point of my being executed. I want to scream at the top of my lungs and proclaim to the world that I fear this, but the thing is that I know that it would only be a futile effort on my part, as I have come to feel incapable of helping myself. My faith in the legal representation is almost non-existent. There are the fears that keep me in my bed, fighting with myself each day to even bother getting up. At times, I feel like a leaf in a whirlwind, with as much chance of directing my fate. I know that many of you have been writing on my behalf and that the journal has inspired some to help me. I think that if it weren't for you out there, I would curl into the fetal position and wait for my date. I must find the strength each day, and each day that I do get out and write, and not just lie awaiting death, is in itself a victory. I have 56 days to live. I will attempt to stave off the bleakness I have found encroaching upon me as of late. Thank you for listening to me rant. You have helped me just with your patience and giving me this venue. Day 36. I am sorry to you that must read my depressive state, but you wanted the truth, right? Yeah. I know that the truth seldom is what we believe it to be. Rarely is the truth gentle and kind. Care careful of what you wish, because you just may get it? That is the truth. My truth today is that I have been struggling to maintain my good outlook on this whole situation. I now spend each day wondering if my life will truly end in 55 days. I had thought that the man who was to help me would by now have gained me a stay. So as each day draws me closer with that date, my level of fear rises. I have attempted to put on a brave face, to face what may come without flinching, but to tell you that I had no fear. I can no longer put up that pretense. I hope that tomorrow will show me something that will lend strength to me. But until then, I am going to close. I apologize to all of you that are reading my words to get inspiration, as some days I am unable to muster enough words. I thank you for the support and continued prayers. Day 37. I have found inspiration in the guise of an old friend of mine. Last night when they passed out mail, I received an assortment of letters, some from established friends, and a few of them from new people writing to me as a result of this journal, and one from someone that I have not heard from since 1998. She was the friend of a girlfriend that I had back in 1988. Dawn was like a little sister to me. I always thought of her as such, and at one time even thought of taking our relationship to the next level. The only thing that stopped me from doing so was that I knew it would lead to the ruination of our friendship. I valued her too much as a friend to subject her to that. I found out through her letter that my trial attorney lied to her, telling her that I have no desire to have contact with her or anyone else from my life. I was so angry at his last night that I started to cuss out people around me due to this anger. I decided to lie on my bed and tine out everything around me, losing myself in the music. A local radio program plays speed metal on Thursday nights. Perfect. Then I got up to answer her letter. In answering it, I relieved many of the times we spent together. She is a special person. She is the kind of person that would give you her last dollar if you needed it. Her letter has shown me that I will live. I may die in the physical sense, though my mortal remains pass on. I will live on through her but also through each of you. These thoughts have refueled me, as I am the phoenix rising from my own pyre. Though I am not yet dead, I feel that I have been reborn through her letter. Can anyone doubt the power of love? Yes. Dawn loves me and I her. Ours is a love built on friendship. She and I share much, and I thank for now for this resurrection of sorts. I am full of energy this morning. I only slept for like 6 hours, and needed no prompting to force myself out of bed today. I have found yet another reason for fighting. I have found someone from my past, and I wish could not have been gone from my life. I have been given a gift, thought her letter. I hope my elation is coming through because for the first time in days I have found a smile, and I sincerely hope that I do not love it ever again. I live in an atmosphere that breeds animosity and strife, so even in the best of times, which obviously this is not conducive to tranquility. I say this only you allow you, the reader, to better understand the difficulty I find in keeping my spirits up. I can still feel the shadow touch of the melancholy I have just recently been released from awaiting me. I know that each day will be a struggle, but if I can summon a single smile, then I have won. I still have those fears due to a lack of communication from the people I feel are supposed to help me, but I hope that I will now have a renewed source of strength. I dedicate this entry to Dawn Marie Sippert. Day 38. As these days pass, I am finding it harder and harder to find things to write about. I feel I have expressed my angst and despair, and my glimpses of happiness very well. I do not know how many times I can tell you that this place is full of people that are waiting to die, and that the very air seems at times to be filled with fear, until you too are filled with that self-same fear. So I think that today, I will attempt to lighten the mood by telling you about an infatuation that I have had for going on 11 years now. The first time I heard the song, "Hit Me Baby One More Time," I felt something stir within me. Yes, I am talking about Britney Spears. All the men on death row that know me also know of this infatuation with Britney. I do not know what it is about her that has captivated me so. I do believe she is one of the most physically perfect human beings I have ever seen in my life. But this goes deeper than the physical. I have read everything I can about her, and some people here laughingly call me a stalker because of my obsession with her. I think that she is searching for someone to love her for her. Not for her money or fame, but for her as her. When she married that guy Jason Alexander, I truly think she married him because he saw her as her, not as the superstar. I am not sure why I have decided to tell you about this. Maybe I am hoping that someone out there reading this knows her and will forward the information on. Hell, a few years ago I sent to a lawyer firm a portrait I drew of her because they claimed that I would receive a personalized picture from Britney herself. I got nothing in return. I am quite aware of the fact that this makes me look like a crazy person to many of you out there. But that is fine with me because I am who I am, and have long ago stopped caring what other people thought of me. I do not claim that I do not want other people to like or even love me, but when it comes to what people think, I do not care. I feel we should accept people the way they are, and not as we would like them to be. So I will die with my infatuation of the woman I find intriguing, sexy, and not to mention of the best pop singers of the generation. I feel she will be as big as Madonna was in the day. Crazy or not, I hope this entry doesn't change anyone's mind about me, and if it does, well, I can do nothing about it. I just wanted to give the readers a glimpse into my head to try and know something personal about me that has nothing to do with my date and dying. I want to think of other things sometimes, things that help distract me from this. Listening to music helps me do that. I listen to my radio, and one station in particular, to hear a Britney song. I sign off for today, 52 days to live. Day 39. Well, just like that, I plummeted from the heights. I received a letter today from the Texas Defender's Service, telling me that they couldn't help me because of a conflict of interest, due to the fact that I still have one of the state's lawyers working my case. I had asked these people to help me fire this attorney in order to avoid a conflict of interest. Yet here I am with the very situation that tried to avoid in the first place. It is for this reason that I try to avoid hope when it comes to saving my life. It is so difficult not to have hope, But then when I do get even a modicum of that hope that my life will be saved, I am dashed to the rocks below. So as I write this, my body lies broken and torn. How can I place my faith in anything now? I have always thought God would save me, but even my faith in Him has started to falter and wane. I have one more place to set hope, but am so afraid of doing so. The greater the heights soared, the greater the fall. That is all I wish to write today. 51 days to live. Day 40. I cannot say that I feel much better today than I did yesterday, but I feel I owe it to all of you to write my feelings down, even when all I am doing is lamenting about how life has been so cruel to me. I do not want anyone to think that is all I am doing with these journal entries. I feel that I am giving a true accounting of the life of a man on death watch. I have run a gambit of emotions since finding that my date is May 12th, and only because of the positive feedback am I continuing to write to you and feel as if I am doing something that may help someone decide that capital punishment is wrong. I know that there are people who fervently believe in the old adage, an eye for an eye. Do these people purposely forget that the Bible also states that vengeance belongs to God? Convenient, right? I know that the God that saved my soul will continue to love those people, but can He not show them that to kill is wrong? Yes, we all know that the first commandment is, "Thou shalt not kill." But I guess that Texans feel this does not mean them. For in their righteousness, they continue to kill without regards for the Bible that they feel gives them that self-same right. I did not mean to turn this into a religious talk. I just find it hard not to break down when I think of these people having what they call a God-given right to kill me because they have the political power to do so. 50 days to live. Day 41. I have come to the realization that I am just one of those people that is destined to be abandoned again and again by the very people that have professed their love for me. It started when I was but 10 years old. My mother told them to take me away. I spent so many years wondering what was wrong with me and why my mother had me sent away. Then I met and fell in love with Nicole. She forced me away, and while this is not strictly speaking abandonment, the feelings were the same. I wonder to this day why she chose those other men over me. Was not my love enough for her? What did those men give her emotionally that I was not able to give? You'd think I'd have learned not to allow my hurt to bleed for another woman. But along came Samantha, who came into my life soon after I was rejected by Stefania, to promise me forever. And by forever she meant, until she found it necessary to carve out my heart, to wear around her neck as a bauble. Then once more Stefania came into my life to tell me that she too would stand by my side until the sun burned out. And stupidly I believed her. I find that I have not heard from her in quite some time. I do not understand what it is about me that has these women leaving me to my fate. Is the execution too hard for them to handle? Am I so loathsome a man that they want nothing to do with me? Do they find their feelings for me repugnant? How can I ever allow myself to feel love to another woman ever again? Is my desire for love so great that I believe in the idea of love more than the love itself? I am not unlike most everyone else in that I too need and desire love from another. I have friends that love me and that have supported me since they first came into my life. I have now heard from 2 stepsisters that I do not know, one of whom I have met once years ago when I was first arrested on these charges. They both have sent me their love, but will they, like so many in my life, abandon me? I have so few people that have stood by me for this. I cannot tell you how many pen friends over the years have just stopped writing with no explanation as to why they no longer wish to correspond with me. I cannot begin to tell you that when this happens, I begin to believe that those 12 people were right, and that I do not have any redeeming qualities about me. I am sorry if it seems as if all I am doing is whining and bitching about my poor life. But this is the way I feel today. Most of you out there can relate to the feelings I have been describing here, have had someone that just left for no reason and left without caring what impact it had on you. I know that my own children have had those thoughts when they think of my own leaving. I would say to them that I am so sorry for putting them through that, and had I had it all to do over again, I would most certainly not leave them without their father. I know that through this journal I have found support from many people who wish to see me get a stay, or even better, to get clemency and go on to live out my life even behind bars. But I ask now, how many of you will remain to me if that does happen? Will you all fade as time goes by? Can I count on any of you to go through that life behind bars with me? I cannot expect it from each and every one of you, but to know that at least some of you will still be by my side, if that comes about, is enough for now. 49 days to live. Day 42. Each day I have had to find a new source of strength, and when I do find that source of strength, I know that I can get through even the horrors I find here on Death Watch. I never meant to use this venue as a wine session. I at first only wished to show the public at large what a man who has been sentenced to die faces in his last days. I cannot say that it is a glamorous life by any stretch of the imagination. This is not some Hollywood movie that glorifies or romanticizes the life of a killer. Besides which, I am not a killer. Every day I live among these men, I talk to them. I have grown close to a few, and I may even die among them, but one thing that no one can ever get me to claim is the title of killer. I regret the deaths of the two men that sent me to this place, and if possible I would resurrect them both to their loved ones, and remain in prison. But unfortunately death cannot be healed. Neither can it stop the next man from killing if he so desires. I have survived on the most prolific death row in the world. I will not glorify this place, as it is not a place that has any redeeming qualities at all. Not so with the men who have found their way here. I will not say that each man here regrets his action, or that there is remorse for what they did. But does this mean that he should be murdered? I just wonder at this way of thinking as a deterrent to crime. How many people have come through the doors since I got here? How many men stopped to think about the death penalty? I know that there are many who killed in the heat of passion, and would never again raise a hand against another if they were given a life sentence, but no, they are sent here to exist as a non-entity until their appeals run their course and the great Texas killing machine is oiled up to devour yet another man. Oh wait, yes, now it is all clear to me. Maybe the next murder by Texas, set for the 30th of March, will be the one that Texas has waited for, the one that vindicates their bloodlust all these years. I view Texas death penalty like an arrogant child who has been told that they cannot do something. Of course they will dig in their heels and kick and scream that it is their right to do as they wish. Where is the parent to show the child that they are wrong? I thought that the U.S. government was supposed to protect and serve us in the capacity of a parent figure. I fear what will become of us as a society if we continue to allow ourselves to remain parentless. Who will save us? I have nothing more for today. Day 43. It is getting harder and harder to find the motivation to continue this life. I don't mean to sound fatalistic about this, and I certainly do not want to gain support through sympathy, but I choose not to lie about my feelings. My reason for these feelings today are the so-called clergy that finds its way onto the tiers of death row. How can these men call themselves servants of God while they support a system of death? To sit passively by is one thing. I have heard a story today that has me shaking my head. I was told that a clergyman that has once been in the death chamber to lend a spiritual support to those men that were unlucky enough to find themselves in the death chamber. But on one occasion, this man helped to strap a man to the gurney. I cannot find any evidence to support this claim, as the man who was to have done this has been released from employment at TDC. They have yet another bastion of goodwill that asks if the man to be murdered would like to have a human touch as he is murdered, and if the man relents and acquiesces to having the man hold his ankle while the state murders him, the clergyman places his hand upon the condemned man's ankle and prays for that person while the state stops his heart. In practice, this sounds very noble, but if the other story is true, how long before this new man will be willing to help the state by strapping a man to receive a lethal dose of poison? Can it be any wonder why I have so much trouble finding motivation to continue this life? When the servants of God turn into the servants of death rather than a savior, we have found yet another creature of oppression. 47 days to live. May tomorrow bring hope anew. Day 44. I want to share yet another poem that I have written to express how I have been feeling here lately. I'm not sure if it will be helpful to you who read these words or not, but either way, I wish you to know how I see things on a daily basis. Not just the good, but also the things that make me just wish I could break down and cry. I feel the need to tell you the unabashed truth, rather than to fill you with falsehoods and candy-coated truths that only serve to make you, the reader, feel good. That being said, I will now write the poem. A man thinking back over his past, a writhing cloud of emotion clears. 40-year-old eyes look back at a 10-year-old face, echoes from the past, all he now hears. Pushed from mother's side, discarded and unwanted, into a twisted world he's thrown. Concrete and steel all that a 10-year-old's eyes see, to shape the only life he's ever known. Raised in a cage, how did he ever grow wings to fly? It took 13 to sentence him that cold November night, when they told him he must die. These are the thoughts that have been going through my head today. I cannot understand why I have been thrown away to die, especially when I feel that I have something to share with the world. I want to scream out that this is all so unfair. But who will listen to me? Who will actually stop the Texas killing machine from spewing me out when they have their way? I believe in justice, I truly do. But the death penalty has not been about justice, but about vengeance. Texas courts have been giving you, the public, vengeance for the crimes that have been committed. But will my death bring back those men that Billy Galloway killed? Will his death? I tell you that it will not. Nor will it bring closure to the victim's family. You may believe differently, but think for a moment, and you too will see that if something that happened 12 years ago is once more brought to light, it only opens wounds that have scar tissue to bleed once more. How then is this closure? I have stated before, and will continue to scream, that if I could bring those two men back from the realm of death, I would. I do not have this power. My death will serve not justice, but vengeance. I do not think the families of the two slain men are the types to want vengeance, but if they are, then I will go to my death knowing that I personally did not harm those people that they loved. My life is counted in days, and I know the truth of my actions, and I find that I can bear that burden. 46 days to live. Day 45. I cannot find anything to write about today, but as several people have told me, I should just type and find out what I am able to bring out of the ether. I don't want people to be put off by anything that I say, or even things I may not say at times like this. I have many letters to write today. I have been getting so many letters that it is now impossible to answer them all. I only have so many hours in the day, besides which we are only allowed to buy so many postage stamps per week, and as it stands now, I use all of the ones I'm able to buy plus more that other men can help me with. I only hope that the people that have not received a letter back from me will understand why I am unable to respond to their correspondence. I am suffering from writer's block. I apologize for not having anything to write about today. 45 days to live. Day 46. I have reached the halfway point in the journey. I couldn't have made it to this point without you to support me. I must tell you all that I appreciate all that each and every one of you has done to make this journey as easy as possible for me. I know that I am the one going through it, but in a way each of you has been here with me. You've seen me as men around me were murdered, and when I lamented over feelings of abandonment. I still hold out hope for a stay of execution to prolong my life. But if this doesn't happen, I know that I will have the support of you to see me through this time. As I write these words to you, we prepare for yet another murder by the state of Texas on Tuesday, March 30th. The man's name is Franklin Alex, and yet again, I am the neighbor of the man to be murdered. I am not as close to him as I was to Joshua Maxwell, but still, I wish to bring him to the attention of the world. By the time you read these words, he will have been murdered by the state of Texas, only proving that Texas's voracious appetite for vengeance will never be sated. Not by Franklin's death, not by mine, nor by the murder of whoever it is that will replace me here on death watch. Until Texas is forced to reevaluate the death penalty, the killings will continue. I hate to think of the poor victims that first had to suffer the tragic loss of the loved ones, and be forced to endure the trials of the men that took that life. Then up to a decade later, when they have most likely moved on, and found a modicum of happiness once again, they are informed that they may come and witness the murder of the man that killed that loved one. Who would think this is a good idea? I certainly do not believe that by cutting open a wound again can be even remotely beneficial to anyone, but most certainly not for those loved ones who must again be reminded that their loved one was brutally taken from them. Many have argued that ours is a more humane way to go. We are allowed those last moments to make our peace. We can have our loved ones make a farewell to us, and then we are gently placed upon the table, trapped down and poisoned in an attempt of humanity. What can be humane about making a man suffer for years under an unjust system that is designed solely for the purpose of killing? Then we must look at the political ramifications of the death penalty. My own case was only to enhance the political career of the DA. I find it very strange that another election year. They have set my own execution date a mere day before that of my co-defendants. I cannot condone Billy's actions on those 2 occasions when he decided to take those men's lives, but I certainly can see the futility of putting him, not to mention me, to death as a way of bringing closure to the victims' families. We are only prolonging the pain and misery those deaths have already caused. Had the Hunt County DA's office given the 2 of us a life sentence, no one would have been outraged. Then Billy and myself would have been in prison, and the victims' families would be able to heal their wounds knowing that neither of us posed a future threat to them or anyone else. I would have sought relief still, for I truly do not believe that I am responsible to the degree that Billy is, but that can no longer be argued legally by me, as the state says that I received a fair and impartial trial. I can only wonder how this is true, but that is a rant for another day. I hope this isn't too preachy for some of you. I close now. 44 days to live. Day 47. We stand to lose yet another man tomorrow. Franklin Alex's date with the execution chamber comes, and I find myself wondering what will come of me. I am sorry, I just cannot do this right now. Day 48. I have been trying all day to no avail to not think about this day's execution and mine in 43 days. I mean, am I strong enough to face the death chamber if it comes down to it? I see men walk away from here, but I never see them when that time comes. What must they think? Do their hearts beat so fierce that it threatens to burst from their chest? Each passing day brings me that much closer to the death chamber, and I am beginning to wonder if I will have the strength to walk the last mile unaided. These journal entries have helped me when I needed an outlet for my angst and when I just needed to vent, but they be of no help if I cannot save my life. Some people may think what I write it tripe or of a trivial nature, but those of you who read this are not the ones that are looking into that abyss. I guess that some of you may have a loved one here on the row. Hell, you may even be ones of the loved ones of one of the men who are currently on death watch with me. And you may think that you are going through this with the, I have news for you. You have no idea what it is like to sit in this cage to know that one day they will come for you and tell you that this is the day you die. I do not mean to say that a part of you won't die that day, but I know what it is like to have to continue to live after someone you love dearly is taken from you. My brothers died, and at the time I thought I couldn't continue, but soon I found laughter again. It may take a year or however long, but even the pain of that death will heal. I tell you that for those of us that are here, it is not so easy to heal that wound of death. So to those of you reading this and thinking what I write is really stupid or meaningless, I tell you that until you are facing what I am facing, then how can you pass judgment on to me? What should I write about here? Should I instead write about the wonderful officer who comes to feed me? Maybe I should praise the state of Texas for the effortless ease with which they keep the death machine running. Forgive an ignorant, unschooled man for writing about his feelings instead of impressing upon those of you who would scoff at my writing. I must apologize to the rest of you who think that my writings are no waste of cyberspace. Then again, who can tell what any of you think? I have received almost nothing but good reviews from the people that read my journal. I cannot, though, help but think of the negative that I have gotten. I guess it is like the old adage of a few bad apples spoiling the bunch. 43 days to live. Day 49. I'm going to try and be positive today, but that emotion seems to be in high demand lately. I try daily to think of something to stay positive. To that end, I was going to open my Bible. I prayed that God guide my hand to open it to a place that He would speak to me through His words. I know that many of you do not read the Bible, not believe in gold altogether, but I do and hope that you do not mind me talking today about the Bible. Well, when I opened my Bible to a ransom spot, it opened onto the passages of Lamentation 3:14-66. I am no Bible scholar to know the Bible through and through. I put it to you to read what I read there. My blood ran cold as I read these words. I thought to myself that God could have seen into my heart to lead me here. I could have written these words myself. I call your attention to the verses of Lamentations 3:53-57. They thought they had destroyed my life in the dungeon and cast a stone over it above me. The water ran down on my head. I said, I am gone. I called upon your name, O Lord, out of the depths of the mire of the dungeon. You heard my voice then. O hide not your ear now at my prayer for relief. You drew near on the day I called to you. You said, "Fear not." How can I not believe after this? Is it pure coincidence that I prayed for guidance and have been led to that certain set of passages? I do not believe in a coincidence that big. I am sure that many of you will still doubt, and that is your right. I myself have faith that God is real. I do not prescribe to any organized religion. I am a Christian in the purest sense. The meaning of the term Christian is Christ-like. To be like Christ is important. I fail on that so many times in a day. I wish I could write to you that I am the epitome of Christianity, but I am not. I still pray to God for salvation and relief. I am confident that when I die I will be brought to the kingdom of heaven. Can each of you say the same? I once heard somewhere a good thing. It went something like this. If I am wrong and there is no God, then I have wasted my time with prayer and hopefully a good example. But if you are wrong, then you will go to hell. Think about this for a moment. Wouldn't it be better to pray for salvation? I do not wish to preach, only to share with you my own thoughts on the topic of God. Thank you. 42 days to live. Day 50. I was awoken today by the officers telling me that I had a visit, which in and of itself is not unusual since it is a Thursday. I have been visiting with a last for several years and I thought it would be her. So I got up and shaved and basically got ready to be taken over to the visitation room. The officers came and handcuffed me to be escorted over. We reached the booth that they had my visitor waiting for me to be brought over. When I came up to the booth, I was shocked and elated to see my mother. I sat down and had my handcuffs removed. Then we started to speak to one another. She has moved back down to Texas to be closer to me in case I am executed. As I sat and watched my mother's tears, my heart broke into 1,000 screaming shards. I have caused so much pain in her life, and if I could, I would remove that pain. I wish I could take her pain upon myself. We had a 4-hour visit, and I will have another tomorrow. I am so excited to be able to see my mom again. She has told me that she will be down to visit with me every week from here on out. He spoke to me extensively about my brother. I guess my letter to him has hurt him. I understand that it was my intent to hurt him with my words. But still I felt very badly at learning how deeply he was hurt. I plan to write to him to heal the bad blood between the two of us. If I do in 41 days, I wish to die with a clear mind that my family is whole. I am emotionally drained at this time, and I must get some sleep. I will write again tomorrow after my visit with my mother. 41 days to live. Day 51. I have just returned from the visit room. I am on an emotional high. The visit today was better than the one yesterday. I believe it was because my mother and I spent the day in laughter rather than in tears. Not to say that there were no tears involved, but they were not the tears of deep-seated sorrows. I still hated to see my mother's tears as hers brought my own tears. I am not a man to easily allow my tears to flow, yet that is not to say that I am totally emotionless when it comes to the feelings of my loved ones. I have had several family members show an interest in coming to visit me now that I have a date, which, to be completely honest, makes me angry. I mean, where were these people when I was forced to live here without moral support? Well, at least moral support from my own family members. I had so many people who would support me, even though most of these people would sooner or later leave me to my fate. I have a couple that have been with me for years in moral support. I would normally refuse to see these people, but I wish to not die with any harshness within my family structure. So I will place them onto my list to come and see me. If I am unable to gain a stay, I will be able to say my farewells to those who loved me on this life. I cannot blame them for living their lives. I mean, it was not them here. I should be more sympathetic towards them for their lack of moral support. I mean, it wasn't easy to see me here, I guess. I also believe that many of them truly thought I would not die here. I too thought this. I still hold out hope that I will live past the deadline of May 12th, but if not, then I most certainly want to die with my loved ones around me like anyone would. I think of this date like a terminal illness. I feel the worst for my mother, who has already buried 2 of her 4 children. Not only is she watching my slow death at the hands of the state, but she also has to watch my children watch, and that is tearing her up in a bad way. I please ask any one of you that is of a praying mind to keep my mother Beth Vargas in your prayers. Thank you. 40 days to live. Day 52. Today is Saturday. Saturdays are usually lazy days for most people. The day when you recover from Friday night's exploits, or the day you plan what to do for the Saturday night out. I spent today writing letters to those of you with whom I have been corresponding. I have to say that writing to so many people gets to be draining. I run through so many emotions when writing. With one person I smile and joke, with yet another, I may feel a deep-seated sorrow, or even an anger. To feel so many conflicting emotions in a day's time can truly leave one feeling empty of any emotive energy at all. As I write this now, I am apathetic at best. I feel like a robot as the typewriter clicks and beeps along with my fingers. I look up to see what I have written, and am at times shocked to discover that there are meaningful words there. I have been writing this journal every day since I discovered I had been scheduled an execution date. I have dug deeply at times to find something, anything, to write about. I will be the first to proclaim that I am far from the most gifted of writers, so I am amazed that so many people are reading this journal. I do not think I have any more right to be heard than anyone else, not do I have any more right to live. I am just trying to save my life. If I have ever said anything that was not warranted on these pages, then I will apologize. But I wish you to know the truth of how I felt at that given time that I write that certain entry. I know that all of us has said, or written something, and later regretted the telling of that. I am no different. What I feel today may change on the morrow. Does this make me an arrogant or evil man? Cannot someone look past my words to see that I am scared of what may come? Am I any less human because I am here? I may feel like a robot, because the emotional roller coaster ride I currently find myself on, but no matter what, we can always find new emotions locked within our hearts, if we only look. I do not know what message, if any, I am trying to write today. Maybe I just wish to show people that I am human and not just some evil thing. Oh, I do not know what I am saying today. I am almost looking forward to May 12th. I know how that sounds, but on that date I will either know that I shall live or die. Either way, I will know peace of mind. I only want to rest without the threat of this over my head. I lie here at night as I try to fall asleep and I think about what will happen to me. I was up knowing that I am one day closer to it. I am fighting, but I am seeing no results from my efforts. I have a lawyer's phone call on Monday, not sure what lawyer I will speak to. I wrote to the Texas Defender's Service about my case, only to be told that they cannot represent me due to a conflict of interest. I have expressed a desire to fire my attorney, as he seems content in allowing the state to just kill me. I shouldn't expect too much from him, since after all he is paid by the state of Texas to represent me. My mother once said it so beautifully: if you pay a person to paint your house, he works for you, but if your neighbor pays a person to paint your house, who then does he truly work for? I will write about whom I got the call from in Monday's entry. I also have a visit coming from a man who said he might be able to help me. I do now know what he will say, or if I will be able to financially afford his help. I do know that in this great country of ours, anything is for sale, even justice. I mean, look at the cases we've all seen, and you will see what I say is the truth. Unfortunately for me, I cannot afford too much American justice. If I were able to afford that level of justice, I would never have had to have a state-appointed attorney filing each of my appeals for relief. I will close for the day. 39 days to live. Day 53, Easter Sunday. I thought I would just wish you all a wonderful day and just relax from my journal. I am going to spend my day reflecting on what today means to me. I will be back tomorrow. 38 days to live. Day 54. I have just returned from speaking to my lawyer. I am reminded of an old adage that says, "You get what you pay for," and when it comes to attorney help here, that holds true. My lawyer was hired by the state and it shows. I have been speaking to another inmate here on death watch, and he feels that a motion he is putting together has a good chance of gaining him a stay of execution. He is willing to help me by writing and filing a motion on my behalf. Problem is, I do not have the money he asks to do this. I am going to ask my mother if she can afford to give it to me. I do not wish to fill this page with my financial shortcomings. My lawyer told me that the petition for clemency that he is putting together for me looks good. He seems shocked at the amount of support that is poured into his office from people. I have difficulties believing my own worth. I have been told that I am not a productive member of society by a panel of my peers. And that is the type of thing that can begin a person to start thinking that they are not worth anything. I know any of you have written to me telling me that this just is not true, but I still harbor doubts that I am not worth saving. My own lawyer says that he has doubts that Governor Perry will allow me to live. I plan to write to the governor personally on my own behalf to ask that he commute my sentence to give me life. If he refuses me, then I guess that the death chamber awaits me. 37 days to live. Day 55. I am back once more, and I have to yell you that today has been most difficult for me to deal with. Last night I had yet another dream that disturbed me no end. I seemed to be lost. At least I knew that I had some place I needed to get to, but could not, in a quagmire. The mud sucking at each step I took. Soon my feet would sink down until the mud was up to my knees. Each step became a struggle. Then in the way of dreams, I am climbing a hill of mud. I am clawing and crawling up this hill to get to where I need to be. Mud is coming into my mouth, covering me from head to heel. My body wants to give out as I pull myself up by inches. I am halfway up the hill. That seems to grow taker every moment, when I slip and slide back down to the foot of what is not a mountain of mud before me. I decided to try and make my way around the mountain, instead of climbing up the face of that mud mountain. Now the base of the mountain's mud comes up to my chest, and soon the mud becomes soupy until I am attempting to swim through this sea of mud. I turn and try to once more find the mountain. I figure that I have once more lost my way, and the mountain was the true way to go. But as I spin in the sea of mud, I can no longer even see the mountain. Next thing I know, my own body betrays me, and I can swim no longer. I slowly sink down into the mud, and just before my head is covered over with mud, I woke. I got up and had a cup of coffee to settle my nerves. This dream upset me very much. After a while, I decided to try to go back to sleep. As I lie there thinking about that dream, I just could not go to sleep, as that portents of this dream weighed heavy upon me. As I sit and write to you about it now, I can feel the mud as it seeped into my mouth, my nose, and began to cover my eyes. The coldness of that mud filled me until I was numb. I do not know if this portends a tragic end for me or not. I do know that I am not going to stop fighting until that mud covers me, and I am sinking through the dark depths of the mire. To do any less would be to betray who and what I am. 36 days to live, 2. Day 56. I sit here typing this while listening to my radio. I have been listening to more and more talk radio than I ever did before. I never really paid much attention to the views and opinions of these people. I was shocked at the way in which many of those people see me, and other men on death row. I mean, sure, I have always known that they are staunch supporters of the death penalty, but never have I heard myself described as a rabid animal that should be put down for the safety and security of society. One woman said that in her opinion, when a person is sentenced to death, the sentence should be carried out immediately, like the same day, hour that the person is sentenced. Yet someone else said that the mode of execution should fit the means with which the victim was killed. I must ask myself when these people became so bloodthirsty. Then I think about the innocent that have been sent to death row. What would these people say to them? I mean, I have seen already one man that has been proven to be innocent of the crime that sent him to death row be executed. Do these people believe that one innocent man being knowingly and willingly put to death acceptable? The quote is what Texas describes as murder, since Todd Willingham, not sure of the spelling, was proven innocent of the fire that took his daughter's lives and subsequently took his when Texas murdered him. Should not those involved now be held to the same standards that they have held us? I do not mean the death penalty here, but should charges not be brought against them? What would those people that call for swift and meaningful vengeance say about the fact that Texas has put to death an innocent? I have never claimed to be innocent. Only God has the right to judge a man to death. The Bible clearly states this. But will Texas ever acknowledge this fact? I feel that they will only give up their death machine when it's taken from their cold, dead hands. Yes, it is a sad world we live in when simple men like myself are forced to be the moral compass for the government. Yet I am the man who has been deemed unworthy to continue to breathe. Why should I be held to a higher level of culpability than the very state that will be my murderer? I am going to close for now. 35 days of life remain to me. I am not afraid to die, but this does not mean that I rush forward into the embrace of death either. I will fight until my heart stops and lungs collapse from the poisons that they inject into me. I will not give hope even then because God has me in the palm of his hand. 35 days to live. Day 57. I was just standing at my cell door watching the officers walking back and forth to feed the different sections of inmates. I was struck by the cold indifference with which they go about their jobs. It was at this time that I realized that before receiving my own scheduled execution date, I too had that cold indifference to those who received a date of execution. Now as I sit and watch the world prepare to move forward, if I am indeed executed. We are all changed by out experiences in the world, but almost no experience in my life has changed me like this one has. The birth of my son, the death of my brothers, and a few more are these life-changing experiences. The days are growing shorter for me. Each day I awaken with a sense of dread and must find a new reason to bring a smile to my face. It may come from a letter received in the mail, a card that a person took time to pick out to maybe bring the quick smile. I tell you now that those smiles are getting rare as the date looms closer. More and more I just wish to be alone with my thoughts and my letters. The people around me are facing the same execution that I am. But if you will remember that I once said that we face it in our own ways, I choose to turn within for my strength. I do not want to go around bantering with these people I have found myself with. We are still a close-knit community. I have just become that crazy old man that yells for those damned kids to stay out of my flower gardens. I have always been content to be alone with my thoughts, and now that this is coming, I want to just be left alone by those around me. Unfortunately, they cannot understand this about me, and have attempted to force me out of my self-imposed isolation. I have refused to be brought forth. I just cannot see how I can bring a smile each day, but I do. I can tell you that they are getting harder and harder to find, so I cherish each as the treasures that they are. I hate to sound all doomsday here, and truly I am not. It is just that there are days when I can feel May 12th shrouding me like a specter. When I feel this, I can almost imagine the coldness of the grace seeping into me, infusing my spirit with dread, until I am full of mortal terror. It is a hard thing to do to face one's own mortality. I close for now. 34 days to live. 2. Day 58. Each day that I am forced to sit and watch the sand fall into the bottom of the glass, I realize how little time remains to me. I have become so depressed while I sit and watch. I can think of nothing else. I think that my letter writings and my journal entries will suffer from this depression. I wish the 12th were already past, so that at least I would know something one way or the other. As my date draws closer, I have drawn more inward. I wish that I could allow others inside to see my pain. But as this date looms in my future, I cannot help but to withdraw from everyone around me, even those I love. It is not as if I didn't trust them or anything. Just that I feel that no one can help me through this. Now can they? These other men around me could, but they are going through it themselves, and so how would I look if I were to reach out to them for support? That is just not done in prison. The whole system is based on testosterone. Every man trying to never show fear or any other emotion that is deemed unmanly. So here I sit, watching those sands fall. Day 59. I have been attempting to shake off the lethargic mood I have found myself in. I find myself just wanting to sleep and not wake so that I do not have to face the reality of this place. I watch the days slipping past me with no way to stop them. Each passing day is one closer to May 12th. It looms in the near future like a movie monster that cannot be stopped by any means. I have turned within myself for strength, only to find that I am empty within myself. I found no strength, only sorrow and apathy. I wish I could find within myself the strength to face what may come, but I cannot. I know that a lot of people are fighting for me. They are trying to gain me a stay so that I may live. To each and every one of you, I send my utmost appreciation. From you, I can find the strength to continue to breathe, to fight, to live in a place that crushes a man's spirit. Some people may think that I have strength because I have survived in here for so long. Nothing could be further from the truth, though. I only survive when I wish to live. I am sorry that I have turned this into a whine session. I have 32 days to live. Day 60. Today I want to try and bring some lightness that has been missing from this journal as of late. I have been looking through my property to decide that is to be saved and what I shall throw out if I am executed. I have come across letters and pictures that I had forgotten about. I have smiled at some of the things that I have found in my possession. I have also come across some of the old stuff that went with my gaming days and the memories that came with it. I would like to share with you all one of the adventures that we played through, if it is all right. I will lay some groundwork so that you can more easily follow my story. I played a character called a Crazy. That is a human who has been augmented through brain implants, making them faster, stronger, and all around better. The other members of the Group 1 was a Juicer. He is a lot like the Crazies, except they are augmented through chemicals. The Juicers are better than the Crazies. Now, the fun thing about the Crazies is that as they progress through levels, they become more, well, crazy. They pick up all kinds of things such as phobias and disorders and other mental problems. I love this as they bring about some interesting situations. When the group must be serious, the Crazy may start a water balloon fight. Look at it like this, if you would. In a movie such as Scarface, when Tony is fighting for his life at the end, a Crazy may have jumped out of the door and tried to pelt the emerging bad guys with those aforementioned water balloons. Okay, now after the Juicer, there was a Cyborg. Picture the Terminator without his skin, and that was exactly what you'd get. To finish out the foursome, there was a Dragon. I based my Crazy Murdoch on the old character from the 80s television show The A-Team's Howlin' Mad Murdoch. Do you remember this guy? He was the guy who had to be broken out of the mental institution to help the team. Well, the Juicer's name was Speed, a hugely muscled guy with a heart of gold. He was the kind of guy who would blow the hell out of the bad guys 1 minute, and then with his gun still smoking, help rescue a kitten from a tree. Then there was Harry, the Cyborg. He spoke like Clint Eastwood. Then Spitfire, the Dragon. She was in love with Harry, and that made for some interesting times. The adventure I would like to share with you today is one of the Doomsday Mercs' best. A bit of background on the gaming world here. This is called Rifts and is based upon an apocalyptic Earth in the future, when magic and technology live hand in hand. At the time that this next adventure took place, the Doomsday Mercs had been living where the Hoover Dam sits, in a community that is slightly waterlogged. Funny thing about that was that before the game ever started, Murdoch in a random roll of the dice was given the phobia of water. Well, the town was called the Styes. We had adventured in a nearby cave system, and then it was decided that we'd stay. One day as we slept, a deep spacecraft came in over the lake and sent down a huge hose and began drawing up hundreds of gallons of water. The town tried to speak to these aliens to no avail, so they turned to the DDM to fight off these water-stealing aliens. Well, we get aboard their ship and fight for control of the ship. At one point, Spitfire ripped out all the hoses that they had been using to draw up the water. Then, once we have command and control of the ship, we discover that the hoses were drawing up the water to cool some malfunction in their ship. No, we are faced with an imminent explosion that has the possibility to destroy the entire town. I can remember so many details of that adventure, like I'm remembering a favorite book or movie. Those characters came to life. Now, as I sit here going through paperwork, I have discovered other just as loved characters from other groups. I want to live to play some of these characters again. Murdoch is my favorite character of all time, and when I run the games for other people, I often will bring in old Murdoch to help them out. I have had many of the guys who have played with Murdoch say that he is a memorable character. What more can one ask than to be remembered fondly? I close for today. I hope that I will be remembered as fondly as a fictional character has been. 31 days to live. Day 61. Yet another milestone today. 1 month until the day Texas wants to kill me. 61 days of journal entries. When I started this journal, I was full of optimism and hope for gaining a stay of execution. But as the days slipped away, I lost that hope to despair. Now, as I sit here, all I can think is that I will be dead in a month. I have placed all my hopes of a stay onto a motion that I am having to file pro se, which means without a lawyer. What shall I do, though, if the courts deny my motion? I will have no other opportunity to gain a stay if this one is denied. It is difficult placing all one's hopes and dreams in a single source, but what other choice do I really have? I do hope that Governor Perry will commute my sentence to life as opposed to death. but he has only done so once, and I am short on optimism there. I do know that many people have been writing in for me to have my sentence reduced, and I do hope that it works. It is just that as a person sits here and faces death in a month, hope is all you have truly. I close for now. Day 62. As I sit and wait to find out if I will receive a stay, I am becoming more and more despondent. I am fighting off the depressive state I find myself in. I hate that all I do lately on this journal is complain about how sad I am, how being here is so hard upon me. I tend to forget about the people that care and love me. How must this be affecting them? I am sure that this isn't any easier on them than it is on me. I really have the easy part in all of this. I get to die at the end if it goes bad. They must live on. Sure, at first it be an overwhelming pain of loss, but soon they will learn to laugh after time. I will not have to deal with that. I just get to lie down and have my heart stopped, and that will be the end of it for me. Written out like that, it doesn't sound so easy to me. There is so much agony and pain for everyone, my family, the victim's family, and me. The circle of suffering just won't end. I am wondering if the victim's family feels that they will have closure as a result of my execution. Do they truly believe that my execution will help them in their grieving process? I cannot help but think that this execution only serves to continue the circle of suffering. I have but a single voice, and I have seen so many men murdered by the state of Texas, that I have my doubts about the effectiveness of my voice. But I do hope that if my voice isn't enough to save my life, then maybe it will be enough in the future to save another life. Day 63. I received another visit today. It is always so good to be able to sit down and talk to her. She spoke to me about these journal entries. She was hurt by what I had to say about her. I never knew some of the circumstances that forced her to stop coming to visit me here. So there I say, while my mother cried because of what I said about her. I felt all of 2 inches tall there. Who can feel good while making their mother cry? After we spoke and she magnanimously forgave me for my words, we had a good visit. She is my mother and she can make me smile without truly trying. She can also make me cry, so I guess it evens out. I also heard from my attorney. He sent me the petition that he intends to send to the Texas Board of Pardons and Paroles. Within those pages, I discovered something that I was not previously aware of. While awaiting trial, my attorney had a battery of tests performed on me. One was a neuropsychological assessment. I recall these tests, but what I was not aware of was the results and what they say about me as a person. It was brought to my attention that I suffer from a neurological deficiency that hinders my ability to anticipate my action, or the consequences from them. Which is one of the questions asked of the jury to convict someone, whether they should have anticipated that a murder would take place. I never knew that this test says that I could not have anticipated the actions of my co-defendant. Due to the neurological deficiency, I have asked my state-appointed attorney to file what is called a successor writ on this issue, to gain me not only a stay of execution, but in all likelihood, it will bring me a new trial. I know most of you who read these pages do not believe on God, not in his power to overturn an injustice, but look at this. Just when I need it, the information is brought to my attention that not only gains me the coveted stay, but also will bring a new trial when I can better defend against the charges that have brought me here. I know that gross negligence with which my last trial attorney used to defend me against these charges, and with that knowledge, I will be better prepared to defend against them in a second trial. With this news, I have renewed hope. The only problem that I can see is that with this new hope, I am soaring into the sky. And as we are all aware, the higher you fly, the greater the fall if it goes south on you. I am going to try and stay grounded as much as possible, just in case my attorney cannot gain me a new trial. I will keep you informed in any new developments. I hope now I have many years to live. Day 64. Sometimes I feel like I am inside a giant pressure cooker, and the lid is sealed tight. The heat has been turned up with no release in sight. I have high hopes that I will receive a stay of execution. But as I lie in this bunk and my mind is allowed to wander, I cannot help but to think about what if. What I the courts deny my motion? What if the people helping me to file this stop? What if those same people start asking for money that I don't have? What if? What if? These pressure have been building so much that there are actually times where I find myself thinking about just throwing my hands into the air and surrender. The only thing keeping me from doing so are the people in my life that love and care about me. For them, I continue to fight. I mean, sure, I want to live to be a doddering olden, shuffling around in house shoes and a bathrobe complaining about how it were in my day. But seriously, I will never see the free world no matter what happens to me. It is thoughts like that that have me thinking about giving up. Well, also the thought that I may have just over 3 weeks of life left, and, oh, wouldn't it be better to live out what remains of my life without any stress? I could relax and just allow it to happen. I have never been in this type of situation in my life, where I think so much that it seems as if my brain never shuts off. Even in my sleep I am typing a letter, or thinking about motions and possible outcomes from the appeal of the motions. My head seems to be filled with explosive gases, and I am just waiting for the tiniest of sparks to ignite my whole existence in the most impressive explosion imaginable. Good thing is that I have only 3 weeks for the pressure cooker to either cook me or release its pressure and allow me to breathe. Bad news is, I have only 3 weeks to catch 22, where no matter the outcome I am still in the cookpot, and that lid can be closed at a moment. Notice, well, in just over 3 weeks our journey comes to an end, one way or another. Day 65. They have added 2 more people to our small community today. For some odd reason, a scene from the movie Pink Floyd's The Wall popped into my head. There is a scene where the children are lined up on a conveyor belt, and as the conveyor reaches the end, the school children are deposited into a huge meat grinder. I know that the visual imagery there is quite ghoulish, but that is what jumped into my head as these 2 men were brought in and placed within their cells to start their own countdown to extinction. I am the next in line to be placed into one of the observation cells. There are 2 cells on death watch that are equipped with cameras, and as each man's date looms closer, he is placed in one of these 2 cells. The current occupants have dates for this week and next, so if the man this week either gains a stay or is executed, I will be placed into his cell downstairs. Funny that the state so jealously guards their right to kill, isn't it? I mean, they place a man into one of these cells equipped with a camera only to prevent someone from taking their own life. I feel that it should be the right of the individual to decide whether or not to live to be executed. The state of Texas would adamantly refute this, case in point. A few years ago, when death row was housed on the Ellis 1 unit, a man who had an execution date decided that he would rather die by his own hand, rather than to submit to the whims of the state. He took a box cutter and cut his own throat. The officers came into his cell and tried to staunch the blood. Ultimately, the man was taken to the hospital and had his throat sewn up, and the state saved this man's life. Not 24 hours later, they lead that same man into their execution chamber, strapped him to the table. His neck still had the fresh stitches from the hospital, and stopped his heart with a lethal dose of poisons. Had they just stood by, they could have allowed the man to die his way. Yes, I know there are legal ramifications to that line of thinking, but seriously, I am not looking forward to being placed into the camera cell and living out what may remain of my life like an exhibit in some exotic zoo. Day 66. These days just seem to fly past me, with no real sense of accomplishment. I have filed the motion with the court, asking for to dismiss my execution on grounds that, if granted, will see me released. Well, this is not entirely true, and I would still have to go to Kansas to face what happened there. That would be my luck to win my fight here, and then just be taken to Kansas to start the process all over again. I do know that if this were done I could much better defend myself. Then again, I may do a lot better there, as they no longer even have the death penalty. At any rate, I have filed this motion, and have asked my attorney to the successor writ on the information that is from the neuropsychological tests I took, coupled with the petitions that several of you have started on my behalf to ask the governor for clemency, and I think I may have a fair chance of living to see May 13th. I can say that writing this journal has shown me the power of the written word. I think that if I am granted a stay of execution, I will continue to write for Thomas's site. Thomas has given me a great opportunity with this journal. I am so indebted to him. Thomas is such a good friend to me, and I miss him very much. They moved him to another pod, and I have not had him around me for some time now. His presence is definitely missed by me. I have no wisdom today. Wait, have I ever had wisdom in this journal? I close. Day 67. I have just finished writing a letter to the Board of Pardons and Paroles asking them to vote for recommending me for clemency. You see, it is not the board that decides whether or not I am granted clemency or not. The board only voted to recommend to the governor to grant clemency, and he either grants it or denies it depending on what he feels is necessary in my case. I hope and pray that he will grant it to me. I have lost faith in the legal aspects of my case. I see the men who have dates before mine being executed, and to me they have better claims in court than I do. So what will become of me? I think that by the time this is posted on the site, my case will have been decided by the courts. Am I still breathing as you read this, or am I literally reaching from beyond the grave as you read my words? It is kind of surreal for me to think about this. I want to live, of course, or do I? I guess I have moments that make me believe that I am ready to just say, let's end this today. I think that if weren't for my loved ones, I would just let them have me. I am so sick of living in cages. I know that it was my actions that brought me here. We not exactly here, but to prison. I believe that I should be punished for the crime I committed, which is negligible homicide. This crime carries a 2-year maximum sentence. I have paid that sentence 4 times over since I was arrested in 1998. 12 years is a lifetime when you live inside a box. Some people in here have actually gone certifiably insane from having to live in a box with no human contact, with the exception of the officers placing them into hand restraints to be walked from one cage to another. Is it any wonder that some of the men here long for their release? Even it means they will be executed? I never would have thought that I would think that way. But looking at another 12 years here in this box, and well, I could see it, I would treat going to population almost like being set free. The freedom to just walk from my cell to go eat in the chow hall would seem to me a vacation. But no matter if I am still alive as you read these words or not, please know that each of you reading these words have supported me, and for that I am eternally grateful to each and every one of you. Thank you. 24 days to live. 24 days. Day 68. I fear I am on a downward spiral. Every day I try to stay positive, and every day I fail miserably. I see that days pass with frightening speed. I cannot help but think of the day the state of Texas will legally murder me. How can I not fall into a never-ending loop of despair? I am still hopeful to get a stay, as I have not heard from my attorney to the contrary. There are doubts within me. Am I still sane? Have I been pushed over into the abyss? I fear that I have stared too long into the abyss, and maybe something has stared back. I feel a darkness within me, an apathy that I fear I grow into something that will lead me to completely shut myself off from everyone and everything. Today, I may have to move into the cell with the camera. I say may because Billy's date is the day after mine, and he is in the cell next to that one. While the other camera cell I am next to, the current occupant of this cell next to me has a scheduled date for Tuesday, but knowing TDCJ I will be taken downstairs tonight, and Billy will be brought upstairs on Tuesday. Yes, it makes no sense. Things rarely make sense in TDCJ. Case in point, I heard from Thomas last night. Seems that TDCJ has punished him for my journal. I can only imagine what will happen to me if I am granted a stay of execution. Thomas's punishment shows me that I have struck a nerve with something I have said. To tell you the truth, I never thought that I would ever have the influence that I seem to have due to this journal. I mean, I am only expressing myself. I am not preaching anarchy, not chaos here. I only wanted to share with you the mental, emotional, and even the physical turmoil one goes through while awaiting the state to come and strap him down and stop his heart with their nice, humane poisons. I once heard that poison is a coward's choice of weapon. I am shocked that the executioner doesn't hide behind a mask. I mean, does he, she, look the condemned person in the eyes before administering the poison? I am sure that the person hides in the next room, as it would be more humane for the person forced, I think not, to push the button. They are worried about the humanity of murder. How can these people continue to go to their churches and pray to God when they participate in legal murder? I am condemned for murder, and these people, well, I am preaching to the choir here. I can say with complete honesty that I am happy that what I have said in the last 68 days has had some impact upon TDCJ. It shows me that my voice can be heard. Thomas Whitaker is a good friend. I hope that he sees me as a scalpel and not a sledgehammer, an inside joke that he will appreciate. I never thought of myself as anything special, but I started speaking with Thomas and he convinced me that I have a voice that people may enjoy listening to. Well, I now see that had I listened to him when he first started to ask me to write for his site, I think that I could have made a difference. Maybe I am being overly proud. I guess that we'll never know now, will we? I have just over 3 weeks until this is decided, and I will make an attempt to stay positive. But it is getting more difficult with every rising of the sun. Thank you to those who have given me their support. I can never repay all the kindness that has been shown to me in this hour of need. I met some new people, and I hope and pray that I will be granted a stay, or even clemency, so that I may deepen my new relationships. To build a relationship that will be beneficial for them as well as myself. I have often wondered what I have that could possibly be of benefit to those people that write to me. I have been told that I have a nice sense of humor, but is that enough? These are thoughts, though, for another day. Day 72. No. Tracy did not forget to post for days 69 through 71. I never wrote them. I have felt like the whole world has been intrusive lately. I know that I have written these journal entries of my own volition, and I have been fine with sharing with all of you that read my journal. But there are just times that I want to be private. I fear that my days of privacy are over. I have been moved into the cell equipped with the camera. I just felt as if the world were watching me. I never thought that these journal entries would reach so many people. Hello, World Wide Web. I just never thought. Yes, that is one of my problems. I often leap with no regard for whether or not I am jumping over the cliff with no means of flight. So I just wrote whatever came into my head without a thought about how my words would affect those people around me, in my personal life. I have had to apologize to so many people. I would take time here to publicly apologize to them, but that would change that I wrote about it in the first place, besides which it was my using this public forum for very private thoughts that has led me to so many of my problems with this. So I can only hope those who I have apologized to will accept my apology in private. I chose to invite you into my head with this journal, and I will see it through to the end. I feel you who have been following me from that first day deserve to see the end of this journey. Well, it will be decided in a mere 19 days, less than 500 hours. I will know if I am to live or die. I have heard that the Pope, the Pope, may speak on my behalf. I mean, that is so beyond my comprehension. This is the most powerful man in the religious world, and he may speak on my behalf. I feel unworthy of his attention, and he knows my name. To contemplate this, my head spins as I attempt to put that into perspective. If the Pope does speak for me, I cannot help but wonder what the uber-elite Christian governor Rick Perry will think. I mean, he has never granted clemency. I hope that I can be the one to show that he is a good man. I have thought long and hard about this man. I cannot believe that he is an uncaring monster. He is a man with a very hard job. I do not envy him having to decide whether a man should live or die. I do wish that he would come look me in the eye and tell me to my face that he has decided not to grant me clemency, if indeed he does deny my petition. I know that to be an unpractical desire, as he does have the whole governing of Texas thing to do as well, and as many men that the state of Texas put to death each month. The governor would have to take a second residence here in Livingston in order to look each man in the eye to tell him he is denying his plea for clemency. But if he were to have to look a man in the face each time and see us as human beings still instead of just a case number, maybe then he would grant a few more pleas for clemency. I do not envy him his job now. But if he was forced to tell a man to his face that he didn't think they were worthy to live, that a crime that happened on the average 10 or more years ago was so brutal and hideous that the man is no longer deserving of life. This is, to me, an admission that the state can no longer redeem this man. Most of the men that have found their way here have committed crimes that were an isolated incident. And if they were to ever go back to society, they could, and most likely would, live peacefully within the confines of any society. Of course, this does not necessarily mean that all fall into the category by any means. I do think that most every man here, though, could and would go to any prison unit and not be heard from again. I have lived almost my whole life inside. I know these people, as I am one of them. I have gone far afield today. I close before I have you thinking that I mean to speak of every topic that comes to mind. I just needed to vent to someone, and if I am writing about inconsequential things, I can for a few moments forget what I am facing in 19 days. 19 days to live. Day 74. Yet one more time I have gotten my hopes dashed to the rocks below. My attorney sent me a letter stating that he may now be able to get me a stay of execution through the issue I have previously written about in these pages. Maybe this is just a way for me to place all faith in God's will to grant me relief. I have prayed and prayed to God, though He stands silent in this issue. I do have faith that God will do what is best for me. I am scared of the unknown. The act of death scares me not. I have some little time to prepare myself for this. I look at each day as a present given to me by God. I know that many of you are not spiritual in nature. I can understand this. But when you stand here overlooking the abyss, I think that many, if not all, would call upon God's name to help them. I judge not, as this is a choice that each must make on their own. I have only 17 days until I will know the mystery of death and what lies beyond the veil. I very much wish I could tell you that in the days to come, I will continue to write this journal. But I have found that as each day passes, all I wish to do is lie here and contemplate what is to come. I do owe it to you all to continue, so I will write. Just be aware that I may not say things that you will see as conducive to good mental health. I think that as the day draws closer, I will find myself thinking darker and darker thoughts. I want to wake each day with the news that I have been granted a stay, and each day that I do not is just another disappointment to my mental well-being. The only thing that one in my position looks for is those simple words, "You have been granted a stay of execution." Without them, I am just a corpse that hasn't the sense to lie down and pull the soil over its head. 17 days to live. Day 75. I am so sick and tired of people coming up to me and saying to me, "How are you doing?" I am living in a cell with a camera watching my every move. I have 2 weeks of life, and they want to know how I am. I cannot give the answer that springs to mind, as it would make me seem like a complete psychopath. I mean, how many times can one be asked over and over how I am when I am looking in the abyss before I snap? I have always heard that places such as this breed insanity. I never truly believed this before. I always thought that one could hold insanity at bay by force of will alone. Then when one is in the position of coming within days of execution, you realize that insanity creeps into you without you ever realizing it. How can I look into my mirror without seeing the insane person staring back at me? I had spoken to others that have stood here and lived past it. They told me that this would change a man. I always thought that I would remain constant whether they executed me or not. I have changed this point of view as I have now stood here, and I have stared into the abyss, and I can honestly now say unequivocally that something has looked back from those dark depths. If I walk away from this date, I am forever changed. There is an old adage that says, "You can never go back." Truer words were never spoken. After this, I can no longer be the man I was before this execution date. I leave you today with this thought. You cannot judge a man until you've walked a mile in his shoes. Believe me when I tell you that to walk in my shoes is to tempt fate with your sanity. 16 days to live. Day 76. One more day closer to insanity. I have tried to stay positive and keep hope alive. Then the day passes with no word on a stay of execution, and the hope dies within and the insanity grows once more. How soon before I am talking to the walls, and they actually answer back? I have heard it stated that if you question your own sanity, then you are not insane. I am beginning to doubt that statement. I am spiraling down into darkness. I know this, and cannot do anything to stop that downward spiral. Knowing helps not at all. I do not think I will ever be the insane person who makes a hand puppet with my sock and listens to its every utterance as if it were the word of God. There are so many degrees of insanity. I know of only a single cure for the insanity I feel growing within me. And that is to be granted either a stay of execution or to have my sentence commuted to life. Then I feel that will no longer have these insane thoughts. It is a subtle thing, my insanity. I guess it may just be the thoughts of what comes next after the poison stops my heart beating. Is there truly a kingdom of gold as it is stated in the Bible? Is there a hell awaiting me because I am a mean and nasty person? Is there only oblivion, a rotting piece of meat in the ground and nothing else? The only ones who really know the answers to these questions are the dead, and I cannot seem to get any straight answers out of them. I have heard so many people telling me, everyone dies. Well, until it is them who has to lie on a table and just wait until that poison drips into their heart, I cannot listen to them. I do not fear the actual killing, murder. The state will perform upon me. It is what comes after that has me lying in my bed in a cold sweat at night. I feel that if God truly has a kingdom of gold that I will be welcomed, albeit to the slums as, let's face it, I am not a high-class kind of guy here. But the Bible states that the poorest in heaven are richer than the richest man on earth. That is something I could definitely live with. 15 days to live. Day 77. I had a phone conversation with my attorney today. I found out that the issue that I had hoped would send me back for a new trial won't be happening at all. I thought the issue had merit, but unfortunately for me, the issue does not. This was a crushing blow to me. I had high hopes that I would be given a stay of execution because of this issue, and now I am 14 days out and looking at the maw of the beast as it slavers for my life. I still have the motion that I filed pro se, but fear it too will fail. Not because it has no merit, but for a lack of time. It needs to reach the Supreme Court to grant me the relief I am looking for, but I fear the lower courts will just drag their collected feet to stop me from being granted the relief the motion calls for. I am sorry that this one is full of whining, but I have nothing left to talk about. I am a man with little hope left. I still have a great plea for clemency, but that is left to a man who has never granted a single case clemency. Hell, even George W. granted one. Well, I will return tomorrow with more of my insanity. It is said that insanity is best when shared, so I feel it is my obligation to make each and every one PFU as insane as I am. Day 81. Yes, my friends, this will be the last time I write for this site unless I am granted a reprieve of some kind. I just cannot continue to write as the date looms so large in my near future. As of the writing of this entry, I have 10 days to live, and I feel like closing all doors to my soul. I thank each of you that have given me your support and letters. I am not in a good mindset at this time, but I felt it was appropriate to tell each of you farewell in the future. Live each day to its fullest. Take time to love one another, and forgive the petty differences between whomever it is you happen to be at such odds with at this time. I want you all to know that it is not justice that will happen on May 12th, it is vengeance. Vengeance is done with malice. The state of Texas is trying to intimidate the next person who thinks about taking a life. I am not in favor of murder. I think that murder is wrong and should be punished. Never think that I believe that I should not be punished. I have never said that, not will I. I recently received a letter from a woman who was the victim of a brutal murder. Her uncle had been murdered by a close family friend and subsequently sent to prison. And she described to me how he is now on parole, and that she fears for her life, that she feels that he should never be allowed to hug a family member, raise a child, or even have good memories because he took from her a loved one. She stated to me that her loved one has no chance to ever see grandchildren grow, because this man took him from them. I tell her and you all reading this, that yes, what he did was a brutal act, and he should be punished to the fullest extent of the laws. But does this mean that he should never know a happiness ever again? This sounds too much like hate to me, and God has a cure for that hatred. We are to forgive those who wrong us, as God has forgiven us for the sins that we have committed against the kingdom of God. I started to write this woman back and tell her some things that jumped into my head, but that would only serve to continue the pain in her life. I agree with her that should never have had to show the pictures of the man to her children and tell them they must run if they see him. I felt her pain as she described the fear of him being released from the prison to once more walk the light of day. The same fear is felt when a victim of rape knows that her attacker is being released. Should we then never allow someone to try and reform themselves within society? Should we just lock them up forever and just watch them slowly be consumed by hatred and anger? That is what happens when this so-called society threw someone away as worthless. I should think that the woman who wrote to me, as a woman of God, would have the love to forgive the man who murdered her uncle. But this is not my place to judge her. She believes that since I did not stop the murders from taking place that I have chosen my fate. She also believes that my death should comfort me. I am sorry to this woman that I cannot find comfort on the eve of my death. The victim's family will be there to watch me. Do they truly believe that it will bring them closure? Maybe on that second day, as they also get to sit and watch Billy Galloway die too, will they finally be able to rest easy knowing that killers no longer lurk within the dark confines of their minds? Hate to tell you folk, but there are kills walking the streets every day. My death nor Billy's serve any purpose at all. The state feels justified in these killings because the law says that it is just. As my mother told me recently, it is just crazy. My friends, if these are my last words to you and I am murdered by Texas on May 12th, then know that each and every one of you has my respect and love. Not just those of you that have shown me love and respect, but each and every one of you, even those of you who have nothing but scorn for me and what I have attempted to do with these journal entries. I want you all to know that if I am now dead as you read these words, that I am far better off than I was while locked behind walls. I have taken flight and now soar with wings of freedom and peace. I never wanted anyone to die. That so much pain and death has come from our actions, and my inaction hurts me. But if I have moved on to the next world, those of you who have love in your hearts for me, I await you there. I love you all. Please know that you have brought me to this place of peace. Thank you, and always remember me with a smile. No tears for me, but as I know that tears will fall, allow them to water the lilacs. Smell those small purple blooms, and bring me to mind, and then I can never truly die. If after May 12th I still draw breath, I will write and send my love to you once more. I am now going to go prepare for my final earthly journey.